Kamala Harris finally has some campaign policies. And the first thing she's announced is communism. Yeah, she just came out said, we're going to do communism. What she actually said was she wants to do federal price gouging bans and calling on companies to control their prices, which is called price controls. And that is a major component of communism. And it's so hilariously bad that even the Washington Post is running an op-ed saying, if you're trying to dodge being called a communist, don't promote price controls. It's kind of fascinating that even Washington Post is calling this out. So we'll talk about that. We got a couple other stories. They caught the guy who broke into Trump's campaign office. Interesting. They say he did. We don't know what he took. Yeah, it's because he took information. So that'll be interesting. And then there's a report that one of the Secret Service agents working Trump's detail left her post to breastfeed a child. I think that might be bad. So, but we'll talk about that. Before we get started, my friends, head over to mypillow.com/Tim. Use promo code Tim over at mypillow.com. You guys know Mike Lindell. He's a great dude. We're big fans. And MyPillow is sponsoring tonight's show. They say you've asked and MyPillow listened. They're finally bringing you the most requested offer ever. The queen size premium MyPillow, only $19.98. MyPillow, as you know, it's got that patented adjustable fill. It adjusts to your exact individual needs regardless of your sleep position. Helps keep your neck aligned, holds its shape all night long, so you get the best sleep of your life. And I can also tell you that if you take 300 of them, put them in a pit and jump into them, it is quite fun because we've done that. But, maybe you just want to buy one or two. That's not all. Get their 6-piece kitchen or bath towel sets, only $25. The brand new mattress topper as low as $69.98. And their famous MyPillow bed sheets for as low as $25. So again, Mike Lindell, we're big fans. We appreciate you sponsoring the show. Head over to mypillow.com/Tim. Use promo code Tim. They also got a phone number for you guys. It is 800-925-9096. Again, promo code Tim. Also, head over to timcast.com. Click join us, become a member. The members only uncensored show tonight will be fun. It'll be up at 10 p.m. But as a member, you also get access to our Discord server where you can hang out with like-minded individuals and you can have discussions. There's a lot of really great stuff happening. They have workshops. They have pre-shows. There's after shows. Join the community. A lot of people in there having a good time. But more importantly, for just $10 a month as a member, you make all of this possible. This is how we run the whole business. All the shows and everything we do is only possible because you guys are members. If you think we do a good job and you think we should keep doing what we do to fight the fake news, go to timcast.com, click join us. But also smash the like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show right now. If you're watching live, share it wherever you can, share with all your friends. Joining us tonight to talk about this and so much more is Danny Polishchuk.
Hey, what's up?
Who are you?
I am a comedian and a podcaster. I live in New York City. People know me from the Boys Cast and Low Value Mail, and I'm here tonight.
Right on.
Glad to be back.
Should be fun. Thanks for hanging out. Raymond has returned. He was so nice. We had him on twice.
Yes. Hello, friends. I earned a second day. I work facilities maintenance here at Timcast. I do things, and I'm excited for a second chance to talk with y'all.
I just want to say that everyone who works at Timcast is so smart. Even facility maintenance is on the show to explain what's going on in the world. It's true, though. It's true. Raymond knows what he's talking about.
Based.
Well, you were listening to the show for a really long time before you started working here, right?
Yes, ma'am.
I think you're a long-time listener, second-time show appearance person.
Second-time talker.
Yes, there we go. I'm Hannah Cliff Remel. I'm a writer for SCNR.com, Scanner News. Thank you guys for tuning in. Let's get started.
So here's the big news from the New York Times. Harris will back federal ban on price gouging, campaign says. The vice president is leaning to an effort to partly blame big companies for inflation as progressives have pushed her to embrace the argument. Progressives that are pushing for that argument are excusing the warmongering, the hundreds of billions of dollars spent on foreign wars, which we should not be involved in, which are driving up prices. Donald Trump, however, made it quick when he explained how this, what this is.
Now Kamala is reportedly proposing communist price controls. She wants price controls. And if they worked, I'd go along with it, too. But they don't work. They actually have the exact opposite impact and effect. But it leads to food shortages, rationing, hunger.
He's completely correct. I also just want to point out, how come he has Folgers, Honey Bunches of Oats, and sausages next to him?
A little prop to show things that people can't afford anymore.
I guess that's it.
Yeah, that's what's...
And to round things off, I'm impressed, guys. The Washington Post. When your opponent calls you communist, maybe don't propose price controls. It's hard to exaggerate how bad Kamala Harris's price gouging proposal is. Wow. Washington Post.
Yeah, they're really in trouble if they're
Serious
stuff like this.
I want to say that the Washington Post new management might actually be getting somewhere. They were saying, hey, going further to the left doesn't make any money. We have to
Correct.
change positions.
Yeah, they're doing that. But you know what? This might be the one time this works. I know it's never worked before, but just let them try this one more time.
This, it's what was that meme where someone was like, it was that woman from Al Jazeera Plus or whatever, and she said, I know that a lot of people have complained that socialism doesn't work, but just because something isn't done right the first time doesn't mean you just give up. And it's like you got to. And then someone responded with like, they're like, it's like she said something like, it's like cooking, and a guy responded with like, oops, burn the souffle, and it showed the killing fields or whatever. It's just like really atrocious, literal atrocities happening.
Yeah.
Whoops. So when you lose Washington Post, so real quick, I'll keep it real simple. Price controls don't work because you can't control one. You can't pin down one piece of the economy and then expect the rest of the economy to function properly. It's like dangling from the power lines. Eventually, they're going to snap. It's going to cause problems down the line. Actually, price controls are like when those. You ever see the video where the women SWAT team were trying to jump?
Yeah, the games or whatever, and she loses her gun in the pool.
Yeah, and they're trying to swing across
And
the
they just
cable,
get stuck?
and they all just sink to the middle.
yeah.
That's what price controls do. Price controls are effectively 5 women on a SWAT team trying to slide across the cable all at once and then sinking to the middle, and everyone gets stuck and stops.
And then cue the Benny Hill music.
and then falls into the water.
Yeah. I mean, it's not. I have a friend, actually, I was saying, because he like runs a chain of grocery stores, basically. And he's like, our margins are not, like, they haven't gone up. Like, our margins are not way higher. Like, we have our regular margins. Yes, inflation's higher, but our costs are higher, but we're not making crazy money here. So
Right.
for you to do that, you're like, okay, well, maybe we'll stop carrying these products. I don't know.
I feel bad. Look, I know not everybody watches the news every single day. Not everybody can. If you're a plumber, you're going to go plumb, and then you're going to come back, and you're going to try and get what news you can. Maybe you're watching Timcast IRL. We try to do our best. So a lot of people don't understand, I don't know, economics 101. And it literally is economics 101. I Googled this to be like, let's get the economics professor's argument. And it's a bunch of just students being like, Econ 101, here's what price controls do. It doesn't work.
No.
And I'm like, oh, wow, it's actually that simple, huh?
I mean, they did it in Canada. I'm from Canada. They did it in Pierre Trudeau, Justin Trudeau's father, did it in the 70s, and it just led to stagflation and a recession. It didn't work.
But we should try again, right? We shouldn't give up on this great
No.
idea. Apparently.
No.
We don't want to be quitters. There are different reports. I was watching something from NBC today where they were saying, she's proposing this idea, and actually this is something that the Biden administration also suggested, and so therefore she's just carrying on the legacy, which is to say, her plan so far is to steal Trump's talking points and then also propose bad ideas that are currently making your life unaffordable.
Right. Well, I guess
This does not sound like a winning message to me.
Yeah, well, she ran out of stuff to. She looked at Trump's proposals and she's like, "Oh, those seem like good things to do, but I can't do those because I'll just be stealing those." So this is what she kind of came up with.
Trump had a press conference today, and thank you for saying it, Donald Trump. He's like, Kamala says on day one she's going to do it. It's been 3 years. Do it now. You're in office now. I was like, yes. I can't understand that literally anybody would miss that. I mean, every single person anywhere, even 6-year-olds, are probably like, but isn't she the vice president?
Mm-hmm. Maybe the president.
Maybe she doesn't even know what she's doing.
Sure.
She's like, am I?
And they're going to switch from Bidenomics to Kamala-unism.
Nice.
Kamala-unism. Well, that's what she's trying to do. But I really do think we're likely going to see her roll out campaign policies that are Trump.
Yeah.
Biden. Remember how Biden did the speech, the State of the Union, and it was basically just a Trump speech?
Yes.
Yeah, they realized at a certain point, they were like, we are way off base. We can't maintain power, promising these things that are deeply unpopular. The only thing they can do is try and pivot. Here's my theory. In the 2000s, when you start getting the rise of social media, which turns into these blogs, which start promoting whatever the algorithms want, results in the intersectional woke rise in the early 2010s. And I've been saying this since then. The Democrats are chasing themselves into the toilet. They're chasing the whirlpool in a circle. What happens is some Democrat politician like AOC or whatever sees everyone online saying psychotic, garbled, far left nonsense. And she goes, I better say that. Meanwhile, regular people are going, what is she doing?
Yeah.
What is she promoting? And they keep going after the fringe element. But these fringe elements on social media keep one-upping each other. So like the way it works on algorithmically, I was talking about this years and years ago. What happens is, one of these lefty blogs will write, Donald Trump said racist thing. Or like Donald Trump accused of racism. That's what it'll be. And they'll get 1 million views. And then the editor goes, wow, that story did really well. Like people must think Trump's racist. Run a story, Trump is racist. Then they do, 1 million views. Then they go, wow, that did really well. What do we do now? Well, we already said he was racist. He's the most racist. So the next day they one up it. He's the most racist. Then the next day it's no one's ever been more racist than him. Then he may be as bad as Hitler. Then he is as bad as Hitler. And then finally he's worse than Hitler. And so what ends up happening is people like Kamala Harris and Joe Biden chase voters on that premise until eventually the whole thing explodes because you can't go any further than you already did. And they have to be like, okay, we're losing voters because we're insane.
Yeah, and he's objectively not worse than Hitler. So people are like, kind of for a bit, people are like, okay, well, we're going to wait. He still has some time to maybe catch up to that. And then they're like, okay, well.
They still say it, though.
Yeah. I mean, also, Trump's smarter about this, too, because he wants to make energy cheaper, which is like one of the biggest inputs in food. So he's like, yeah, your food will come down when we figure out the energy thing. Kamala's just going straight to the source, essentially, being like, we're just going to put price caps because you can't steal his thing again.
Right now. She probably will try later.
Well, she's going to be dig, baby, dig.
Yeah, no, the thing is, with Kamala, it's that there is no plan. And I think some of that has to do with the fact that she is also as surprised as we all are that she has gotten this opportunity. But in part, there is not a strong understanding of economics on the left. So whoever's advising her campaign probably is like, I've heard price, I think, controlling prices would really help you out. She's like, great idea, because she doesn't know. The problem with a lot of her campaign is that she has this tie to the Biden economy, and the Biden economy is bad. People cannot afford things. Groceries are too expensive. Everything you own is becoming more costly. So they either need to say, well, she was the vice president. She couldn't do anything about it, which means that she has no experience and has basically been a lame duck for the last 4 years. She's useless. Or she's as responsible as Biden, at which point she needs to answer for why things are so bad. They're trying to sidestep that right now.
It's actually worse. And Trump, he really hit this on the press conference he had earlier. He said, Kamala may be worse than Joe Biden because she actually voted for these things. Mm-hmm. Joe Biden just signs off on them. When Congress or the Democrats try and pass these bills, Biden is just there saying, yeah, sure, whatever. Kamala's actually casting the tie-breaking votes in the Senate to move these bills to his desk. That is actually worse.
Didn't she vote against stopping taxes on tips at one point, too? I had seen an old article.
I'm pretty sure that's her original idea.
No,
she came up with that solely.
But when she was...
So there was a bill that would have increased IRS scrutiny on tips so that they could be taxed. She cast the tie-breaking vote to advance this spending bill, which included those provisions. Mm-hmm. So it wasn't like the bill was literally tax tips and she went, aha, and she rubber stamped it. It was this big package.
That was the 87,000 new IRS.
It was the Inflation Reduction Act.
Yeah. Is that what it was? Yeah. So check this out. Washington Post says, it's not hard to figure out where the proposal came from. Voters want to blame someone for high grocery bills. And the presidential candidates have apparently decided the choices are either Biden administration or corporate greed. Harris has chosen the latter. Have you guys seen the Subway story today?
Yeah.
Subway's having an emergency meeting because sales are down and they're struggling. And certainly, I think it's fair to say that Subway's had some issues with maybe a spokesperson, something like that.
I don't think it was great.
But there was this great post from Chef Gruel where he's basically saying, like, Subway's value proposition to customers is fast, low cost, easy food, fresh right in front of you. And for the franchisees, it's all of these ingredients are out of the bag, ready to go. You get them in the fridge, boom, tomatoes, boom, onions, chopped, sliced, bang, ready to go. So apparently what's happened is, as inflation has increased, certain food items became too expensive. So Subway says nobody's going to want to buy a $12 sandwich if we include this particular, meat product or vegetable. So we can't sell it. So then they remove those items. Less people then go to Subway. Now they're not selling enough sandwiches. Then they've got to increase costs. Now nobody really wants to buy any of it. And now Subway is suffering because
and the cost of the build-outs, because they were famously, it was cheap to start a Subway franchise because there was no ovens or anything like that. And now they're like that, even without that stuff, it's still through the roof.
Yep. And so I was talking about this earlier this morning. There was a food truck by us and it was barbecue. And I went there one day and they said, no more brisket. And I was like, wow, but you're barbecue, you know brisket. And he said, the cost of beef is so high. In order for me to break even selling them at cost, it would be a $20 sandwich.
Yeah.
He's like, no one will buy that. So what's the point of me carrying beef anymore? So now it's just pulled pork and chicken. And then he went out of business.
Yeah. I mean, if you ever go to any, like I do this all the time in New York, because if you ever go to a restaurant and I'll go on Google Maps or whatever to look for it. And then when they have the photos and you click on the photos of the menu just to see what's on the menu prices are nowhere near. These are not old photos. And you go to the actual restaurant and you're like, every single item is so much more expensive than 2 years ago.
Man, I love Subway too.
I don't. It's
don't
the
like
quality kind of has dropped off. And
I haven't been there in a long time.
go there, you'll be like, it tastes pretty. It's pretty
Really?
bland.
That's sad.
Yeah.
Sad. Well, let's do
Smells
this.
good.
It does. Let's jump to this. We got this story here. This is funny. We have this tweet from Curtis Hoke, and it's Peter Doocy, and this is really funny because he's giving Karine Jean-Pierre a layup. Axios is reporting that Kamala is trying to distance herself from Biden's unpopularity on the economy, and Karine Jean-Pierre is so stupid. She's like, nuh-uh, Kamala is part of the administration. You got to hear this. This is amazing. Shout out to Doocy.
When did you guys learn that Vice President Harris wants to distance herself from Bidenomics?
Why do you think that?
Axios is now reporting that she is hoping to distance herself from President Biden's unpopularity on the economy. Can you blame her?
Do you know this is the Biden-Harris administration? Are you aware that this is the Biden-Harris administration? It is indeed the vice president.
But if the president's policies on the economy were working, or if they were popular, wouldn't he still be the candidate?
You literally just had the chair of the CEA here who laid out a pretty robust point by point about the economy and what has happened under the Biden-Harris administration. And I thought it was pretty convincing. Look, as far as anything that the vice president wants to do, or as she's talking about her policy that's campaign related, you would have to speak to her. One thing that I know for sure is that this president, this vice president are fighting very hard to make sure that the middle class is stronger. They wanted to make sure that we're working to cut taxes for the middle class, for working people, slashing cost for working families, as you have seen them do over and over again. This is something that we believe in. You heard Jared talk about announcements this week about lowering cost, and that is something that they believe in. And the contrast could not be more stark between, if anything, the contrast is between what Republicans want to do, MAGAnomics. You're talking about Bidenomics. MAGAnomics supercharge inflation. That's what they want to do. Raise taxes.
What? Has Donald Trump come out and be like, we need more inflation? But let me just, we'll play the rest of the clip, I guess.
On the middle class by thousands of dollars. Send tax cuts through the roof. Protect corporate price caps.
Send tax cuts through the roof.
That sounds like a good thing.
Yeah.
Cut Social Security. Cost millions their health care. And heap tax giveaways on billionaires and big corporations. That's the division.
What I love with this clip, Kamala is probably sitting there going, stop. She's trying as hard as she can to say that she's not involved. She's literally saying on day one, I'll fix these problems. And Karine Jean-Pierre is like, what do you mean? Kamala's been here the whole time.
She's been fixing them.
Yeah, right. She's fighting very, very hard right now. She's the problem.
During the first 2 years, there was I felt like a very serious push from Harris's camp to say, you have to stop calling it the Biden administration. It's the Biden-Harris administration. She wanted her name on there.
She wasn't even, nobody heard from her for 3 years.
And that was because she wasn't capable of anything. But that's apparently besides the point. Now that she is the incumbent.
First 3 years, everybody was like, where is she?
Let me play this.
But would you admit, at least, that if Bidenomics was more popular, President Biden would still be...
I'm not going to get into polling. What I will tell you is Bidenomics has been something that both the president and the vice president has worked on. You guys have called it Bidenomics.
Is she intentionally sabotaging Kamala Harris? Let me tell you, Bidenomics, people are upset right now with the economy. And she's like, nope, Kamala did it.
Well, she must.
Right, she did.
And people love the economy.
They must be mad at her at a certain point,
Yeah.
right? Like, she was primed and ready to take this position. Now they're all tied to this sinking ship, which is the Biden, no Harris administration, because she's out on the campaign trail.
I wonder if just because their polling's good, she's like, doesn't even matter. Maybe they're starting to kind of feel like it's a runaway train and she doesn't even care.
I don't know. CNN actually did this reporting where they said if you compare 2016-20 and 2024 polling, if you look at the 2016 polling in actuals, 2020 polling in actuals, and polling today, they were like, consistently Democrats are favored like erroneously.
Yeah.
And if you were to compare the actual numbers, Trump is actually up by like 2 points.
I think they're overpolled too. Like they're disproportionately polled Democrats. So then that's. I mean, I think it's going to be a repeat of 2016, where it's going to seem like Harris is going to win, and then she's going to lose on election day.
I had heard a pollster,
I hope.
an interview with a
Oh,
pollster
the
who
left
said,
is going to go nuts.
a pollster who said he was actually having a hard time getting people to take part in polls. And he was saying it's like because they are all decided and, whatever else. But I actually wonder if it's because people are tired of it, right?
Yeah.
Like they are kind of set on who they're going to vote for and they just kind of want the election to be over with.
I think one of the issues is that a lot of polling these days are just internet. And
or
so-
phone calls, and man, think of the type of person who picks up
time to
their
pick up-
phone from an unknown number and
the
just
phone-
has a 5-minute call.
But the phone call thing I get, that's how they always have done it, knocking on someone's door. But now it's just internet. Now you'll be browsing, YouTube, and you'll get an ad pop up ping like, take a survey. And then they're just going to say, well, our data suggests this individual was a 34-year-old woman, so it must be correct. And like, who knows? It could be, these polls could be based on somebody watching a video. The pollster then thinks the person watching the video, because the data being sent to them is a 34-year-old woman from Indiana, and it's like a 17-year-old guy in India working on a bot farm.
Sure.
And then he's just like, I want to vote for Trump. You know what I mean? And like, but for real, we don't even know if these online polls are actually accurate.
No.
They're not tracking the data heavily enough. It's just making assumptions. And then they have their margins of error. They have their science or whatever.
And I mean, a lot can happen between now and November. I mean, Trump has his sentencing on September 18th.
I'm excited. Yeah, we're going to have a party. We're going to order pizza. What day is that?
September 18th.
It's like a Wednesday.
Wednesday.
Yeah, but I mean, he has a sentencing. I think the daughter of the judge,
it's a
Juan
Wednesday.
Merchant or whatever.
she made a ton of
apparently
money off of this.
But apparently she's saying he's going to get a year in jail, and there's like rumors that they're preparing a section of Rikers Island currently. Whoa. For Trump's arrival.
Maybe that's why Harris won't agree to any other.
Yeah, she's like, haha, I know
like,
something
one on
you don't know.
September 10th, and then we won't talk about it.
Yeah.
Oh, wow. Really? I mean,
Yeah, there's a rumor that Rikers is getting prepared for the...
where you saw that on Twitter or
On
something?
Twitter, yeah. If you just type in
That
Rikers
proves
Island,
it. Maybe it's
Rikers.
true.
Well, it was not. I mean, again, I said rumor.
kidding, dude.
Said rumor.
On the polling thing, I participate in YouGov polling, and they ask you at the beginning, like, who you are, color, race, age, and stuff, and they don't know me. I could just put in whatever. I could say I'm 13. I could say I'm 75. So the polls, if they're online, if YouGov can be very inaccurate.
Yeah.
Results.
Yeah, I wouldn't trust the polling. I mean, also even the betting markets. Like, she has so much money, she can. Everybody's like, look at the betting markets are so much in favor of Kamala Harris. You're like, she could be just betting on herself, and then that changes the odds.
And I like saying I'm a Democrat, not just to put
Or
it
it's
out
just
there. You let 'em know.
I don't think the prediction markets, I think, are people just betting.
bet, yeah.
But when you look at the polls, the prediction markets will also move based on what the polling suggests.
Shapiro was 90% at one point.
Wow.
He was like, it was like almost a lock.
Sometimes I feel like with
I mean,
betting-
Biden was.
Yeah,
Biden was at 90-something% for the Democrat nominee.
yeah, exactly.
And it's funny because in September of last year, I said he won't be the nominee. He can't be. I don't understand how they do this. If somebody watching that episode was just like, he's probably right, and then went and made a huge bet,
yeah,
Yeah.
the odds were so tremendous back then.
yeah.
Because you don't have to bet on someone you actually want to vote for. You just bet on who you.
You're just betting on what you think
Right.
the actual outcome
Whereas,
will be.
like-
And you're betting against, you're not even betting against the House. You're literally just, there's another person on the other side of that who's just
Right.
taking the other
Whereas
side.
at least with polls, like, except unless you're Raymond G and you're lying about all your demographics.
I didn't say I lie and all this.
Like theoretically, they're polling registered voters who
Yeah.
are likely to vote or who have kind of interests or whatever else. Like they're asking them their personal opinion as opposed to like, if you give us the right answer, you can
Sure.
get some money. That's
Right.
what the betting markets are doing. I don't know. I mean, it's really interesting. I'm going to kind of tack back for a second. Like they're talking about the economy. We've been saying for a little while, I feel like at least this week, that Trump really needs to just focus on the issues because getting into the like mean girl name calling and who's weird and who's
Yeah.
mean, like it's a waste of time. And part of it is like Kamala Harris doesn't have any policies.
I was actually saying this week, because I was like, why isn't anybody talking? Neither of them are talking about home affordability, which seems to be a big issue. And there's apparently tomorrow she's going to release for, I think it's like a first time home buyer. If you've paid your rent on time for 2 years, like a $25,000
Yeah.
A government
I heard that
subsidy essentially
Oh.
towards a down payment.
I heard that she was going to announce that the government will manufacture a large block housing unit system in all major cities, and everyone will be allowed one unit, and then you'll get a book for which you can go to the store to ration out your...
Oh, that sounds nice.
None of that is true. That was a joke.
I mean, it makes sense. There are no more coconuts left in the tree, so
more
we have to
coconuts.
resort to new things.
There was that meme where it's like you wouldn't last 1 week in the asylum I grew up in or whatever.
Yeah.
My
Taylor
favorite.
Swift lyric.
Is it really? My favorite one is the "You wouldn't last 1 hour in the coconut tree I fell out of."
Yeah.
That's a good one.
Someone dubbed that song.
Are you a big Swiftie?
I dabble.
What are they doing with ISIS? Are they going?
We're not organized right now. We're
Are you honestly? I saw that ISIS thing.
We're
I
all
go,
braced-
big mistake, ISIS.
I
That
thought
is
so,
not
too.
the people you want to go after.
And now they're
the
all braced for the
Swifties.
London shows, which
ISIS
London
is?
No, the Swifties.
Oh, I was like, if I was ISIS, I'd be like,
gotta keep up
putting out
here.
an apology video saying
They're
like,
not sorry.
wires crossed.
But you know, there was that big bombing at the Manchester Ariana Grande contest. So now that we have this like mass gathering of Swifties in London for, I don't think she has like 5 or 6 shows there.
Yeah.
It's kind of interesting because now you have all these high-strung women who are going to be on high alert for something bad. Like, this is the worst thing you could have done to a European city, I think. But,
Sure.
What I also find is funny, there's an op-ed in the New York Times where they're saying Trump calling Kamala a communist is a sign that he's scared because red baiting is the same as race baiting, which is like so
they're
desperate
scared?
to me.
All right, let's jump to this next story. This is from the Washington Post. Trump seeks delay in New York hush money case sentencing until after the election. Trump's lawyers asked a judge to delay sentencing for his criminal conviction for falsifying business records scheduled for September 18th until after the election. I don't think they'll delay it. And we've got this tweet now. This was just brought up by Hannah Claire and Danny here.
Yeah, that's the
Tony Saruga says multiple high-level sources have stated the New York City Department of Correction is making arrangements for Donald J. Trump's arrival at Rikers Island in September. He tweeted this. This is just yesterday. President Trump will 100% be sentenced to prison on September 18th. I'm told the sentence will be 1 year, but we'll see. The Marxist judge could change the sentencing at the last minute, but he's definitely sentencing President Trump to at least 1 year. Rikers Island already has special accommodations ready. This is 2 months before the election. This has got 3.1 million views. I don't know what his source is. This guy is just, he's a contractor. He's a philanthropist.
CIA
Whistleblower.
Is that what he says? CIA, NSA contractor, whistleblower, Intel Ops.
Yeah.
I'm assuming he's probably got some sources, but it is all rumors right now.
Yeah.
However, Hannah Claire made a good point. Kamala's not committing to any dates past September 10th for a debate because she maybe knows something Trump doesn't.
Mm-hmm.
There you go. I mean, that's a massive wrench in this whole thing. If he's literally like, I don't think my brain can actually process the idea that
I think it'd be really hard to wrap your mind around that in one summer somebody shot him while on stage at a rally and then they sent him to prison. Like,
Sure.
That's really crazy optics. But also when Trump has these kind of like momentous legal moments, I think back to the Atlanta mugshot release, support for Trump surges. And so I think it would be more about ego if there was, a judge or someone who was like, no, we have to send Trump to prison. Like, they are no longer playing the long game at that point because you can still run for president from prison, or at least for federal office.
So if he goes to prison, he gets elected, he wins on November 5th. Like, do they bring cameras into the
I have
prison?
to say, I don't know.
Is he just sleeping?
The state's going to
Is he
argue.
watching on his little like?
They're going to say it doesn't matter if he's president. He's still in prison at the state level,
So can he pardon himself?
not at the state level.
So then what? Just the first 8 months of his term is just he's incarcerated?
Would he need Hochul, the governor of New York? To
I
pardon
think-
him?
He's not gonna do that.
I got to be honest. If it were me, and I was sentenced, and we know these charges are nonsense, they're psychotic, I would just instruct the Secret Service to open the doors. That's it.
I don't
End
think
of
the
story.
Secret Service has that. They would have to instruct the actual guards of the prison. Like I think the Secret Service is
like
essentially
a jurisdiction question.
Yeah, well, they don't have. They can't just open up the jails. I assume they're just there to protect
But
him
a
from
lot of-
other prisoners while the COs do their job.
But a lot of time, state agencies, like when, the FBI or some other federal law enforcement agency comes in, they're like, okay, we defer to you. Like, does that work for the Secret Service as well? I don't know.
Like
different
I think-
bureau
Okay,
entirely.
guys, if I was the president and New York locked me up, if I was in jail and then I got elected and they said, you're the president now, and they said, it doesn't matter, you're not leaving, I'd be like, okay, send in the Army, Insurrection Act. Like, there's no question. They're not going to keep the president of the United States in a state jail. It's not happening.
yeah.
And also, when
But will they
make
keep
him-
him at least up into the how many
Yeah.
days after the election?
They're
that
gonna-
they let him out?
I think they'll lock
Does he
him
go
up.
Shawshank style?
I
What if-
heard
what if Trump
a lot of people
escapes?
saying house arrest, like because he's too complicated to keep in prison. You can't actually do that, but that would still take him off the
If Trump has an ankle monitor, I'm going to lose my mind.
I thought house arrest.
Or so
but
many
Brandon Strzok made a better point. He said, "Why stop? Why would anyone make? He's like, why would you make the argument that they're going to be tempered now when they've been going as hard as possible nonstop the whole time?" And I'm like, yeah, good point. They want him. They want him in a jumpsuit.
They went the hardest possible about a month ago in Butler.
Who is they though?
I don't know.
Head trap.
No idea.
Isn't it weird though that the last? I hate to steal that.
The people
word
who
now.
hate Trump.
Correct.
But that's how I describe it. Like the people who hate Trump, they hate him so much that one of them tried to kill Donald Trump. We don't know how it happened, how he was let in. There's new photos of him.
Don't know anything.
There's a photo of him walking around with the gun. There's a photo that came out showing him walking around early with the gun, and like nobody stopped him. Nobody said anything.
Crazy,
I don't
huh?
buy it.
We're waiting for the classic FBI.
Yeah, and it's been what, a month, and we just don't know anything.
But we can talk about Iran, right? Like
Sure.
they're up to bad stuff. There's like such a shift in that narrative now. What I was gonna say is, isn't it weird that the last debate of this cycle could be the vice presidential debate? Normally, it's like you get a presidential debate, you get a you might get two, and then a vice presidential debate, and then the last one is typically another presidential debate. There's like 3 every cycle.
Yeah.
But Kamala's only agreed to this one in September, even though Trump has offered multiple. Vance and Walz have agreed to this October 1st debate, so that'd be a VP debate. They've also, J.D. Vance has offered to debate earlier in September. But maybe Trump is going to be in prison, and that's why we're not scheduling more debates. Like everything seems so out of rhythm.
Not even like a regular jail, too. Rikers Island,
Right? Kamala, if she was smart, she'd debate him in prison.
That'd be so funny. Because
Yeah,
she's
just
a
on the
prosecutor.
phones.
Yeah.
Just
no,
on the
just
phones
like
through
she
the glass?
shows up and they like get a stage and then he's in an orange jumpsuit and they're making him do the debate.
And instead of regular people who are into politics and go watch it, it's all of the.
Yeah, it's just all the people Kamala Harris locked up in.
He'd win in
It'd
a
be
landslide
fascinating.
like that. In an orange
I
suit.
mean, people say that if he gets arrested, he's going to win, but he got shot in the face.
Shot in the face, 34 felony convictions.
And he's not up in the polls, so I don't know what that means. I think this country is just hyper-polarized and on the verge of falling apart.
Well, I also think they stopped talking about the assassination attempt.
Well,
he
he
was
lost.
just saying they stopped all of this investigation that we should hear about nonstop is like
Because
third-tier news right now.
Biden announced literally he had so much heat and so much juice from the assassination. It was all going his way. And then Biden, 6 days later, basically is like, I'm not running. And then that was the new story.
That was the only way Democrats could reclaim.
Yeah,
the
it was.
cycle.
I mean, it was a smart move.
and the news
Smart
cycle's
strategy.
so fast. It's here.
It's
just
fast,
switch
but it
it
was
over
an
and over.
assassination attempt of a presidential candidate.
But now everyone has to, like, all the journalists have
it's not
to do
like
this.
preseason football's back on.
No, it's totally different. Now, people do have to do all this research to be like, well, Kamala, what was her background? Oh, there's Walz now. Actually, it might be Shapiro. Like, there is sort of all of this narrative building that they sit, like, mainstream media has to do that I can understand where they think this is the priority over this, like, really slow and unclear investigation into the FBI and Secret Service led by Congress.
I mean, if this was the other way around, the news story cycle would be, why is this investigation so slow? What is going
Yeah, of
on
course.
here? Like, if
Because
it's the
they
other
would
way,
care about it, but
Well, they
they
would
don't.
care and they would make it a focal point. They're choosing not to.
Do you think that American people have forgotten it the way the mainstream media has?
I mean, some people. I mean, half the country didn't care to begin with.
That's fair.
And so
But
yeah,
people
I'm
who
just
care about it, I feel like that made them more motivated. Like, it was interesting to me how many people, because we went to Milwaukee for the RNC right after, and I would like Uber to the convention, and these people would be like, yeah, I didn't really care about it, but that was like a big moment. Like, I think even if the mainstream media isn't talking about it, there are average voters who cannot get the image of Trump standing up on that stage out of their head.
yeah. Well,
It is actually interesting that, it's a month out from the assassination attempt and it's just not really news anymore.
no.
That's kind of nuts.
I mean, honestly, you hear. Granted, JFK was a different story, but it's like that is like a pivotal moment. That's like a milestone moment in this country's history.
If Trump were to have not tilted his head and died, it's not only that we would be still talking about it, but Joe Biden would be using it as an excuse for authoritarian lockdowns, control, just crazy.
I mean, he might not have stepped down.
He might not have stepped down. They'd enact crazy electoral changes and be like, there's going to be security, police everywhere now. This is during an election. They would blame Iran or Russia and then use that as justification to put security
And gun
policing
violence,
all over the place.
right? They would be like, look, this is what happens. We really need to have gun restrictions everywhere. I mean, it would be wild.
even
the number
Tim-
of things they would pin to that.
Tim Walz, when he got his when he gave his speech or whatever, and he was talking about guns, it's like you didn't reference this thing. You didn't even choose to reference because you probably would like.
But Democrats can't acknowledge it at all because if you remind anyone of it, it's such
Even
a powerful
on
image
the
in Trump's
topic
favor.
of restricting guns and gun control, you're like, they won't even point to that thing because it's bad for them.
Yeah.
Well, I suppose it's going to be one heck of an election season. It certainly feels like there's ebbs and flows to the chaos cycle. Like one day, a far leftist walks up to a guy in the middle of the street in Portland and just blasts him in the chest, killing him. And then the next day you're sitting there, it's a slow news day, and Kamala's talking about, not having policies or whatever. And what ends up happening is whenever there's something in the news that's extreme or terrifying, like Trump's sentencing or Trump's conviction, people get that sinking feeling like, holy crap. But then as everybody waits, it slowly starts to normalize. People start to adapt to the circumstance, and then now it just feels normal again, and you feel like nothing is going to change. So let me just stress how far we've gone. They first accused Donald Trump of being a spy, a traitor to his country, who was put in this position as president by a foreign adversary. They impeached him twice. They accused him of an insurrection against this country. They failed. They charged him multiple times, accused him of rape. These things are all nonsensical. They arrested his lawyers. They arrested the Republican elector slates that did not win the election but were filing the paperwork. They arrested many of them. Donald Trump has been convicted now on 34 counts of made-up charges without due process. There's no underlying crime. The charging document literally says another crime that was never adjudicated. Trump never got due process. Then someone shot him in the face. Just think about how far things have gotten in this country. And so when I'm talking about this stuff and I'm like, 2018, man, this street level violence, if this polarization reaches the government, that's how you get civil war. And everyone's like, oh, shut up. Now add all those things together and people are still like, oh, shut up. I'm like, someone shot Trump in the face.
Yeah. I'm really.
I think in the head, his ear. I want to be clear.
In the head area.
The head area.
I love that the head and face are not the same thing.
Not the same thing. I'm really hoping for, I think, a tie. That's what I was saying before, but the tie scenario. The tie scenario. So it's possible 269, it's actually a possible thing. If it happens, then the House of Representatives picks the president, and then the Senate picks the vice president. So then theoretically, it would be Trump, Walz, or maybe Trump, Kamala.
Can you imagine her face if she had to be vice president
Insane.
again, and this time to Trump?
But that's what we need to bring this country together, is both of them.
Yeah, she was really
locked
devoted
in the
to
Oval
unity.
Office.
She would work with President Trump.
Do they have to pick from the current candidates? Can they pick someone themselves who they want for VP?
I think they can pick anybody they want.
I think they can pick anybody they want. Yeah. So,
Yo, that's wild.
Trump
it's called a
Pelosi.
contingent election.
Yeah, it happened in 1824. It's happened one time
1824?
1824. It's happened one
100
time.
years ago?
200 years
200
ago.
ago,
Exactly.
Worse than that.
Exactly.
Really?
200 years ago, exactly.
Really?
It happened in America.
1824 election.
It was the only time ever. I think it was Garfield. No, not Garfield.
Is it when they got together and they
John
decided
Quincy
to do the
Adams,
pick? They sat down on the table.
They had it was the House of Representatives had to pick the president, and because it's I guess if it was they controlled both, then it would be the same party. But
one of two. The 1800 election was also decided by the House.
Oh, okay. Well, last time it happened.
But then there was 1876, and that's where a committee got together and just decided who would be president. That's because they were scared that was going to be a civil war too. So it's 76. It's a decade later, and they're like, guys, if we can't figure this out, everyone's going to start shooting again. We don't want that to happen. So what do we do? And they're like, okay, here's the deal. Reconstruction is over, and then you guys get to pick who the president is. And they're like, okay, fine. So we've had some wackier situations.
Sure, but if that happened right now, that would be.
Yeah, news took forever to get back to each other back then. It take weeks to get news around the country. Today it's right in your phone instantly. So it dramatically increased.
But I mean, it would be Trump would be for sure the president. I guess they can pick the president. They don't have to pick Trump, but they would pick Trump.
The House would pick Trump.
House would pick Trump for sure.
You're gonna pick Vivek.
Yeah.
So there was a scenario that let's reset this map. So what was the scenario? I think it's like, let's see, if Trump wins here,
and Maine won. I think Maine won vote.
No, you don't need that. I think it's
for the 269.
Right. It's Nebraska, I think.
Is Georgia.
Nebraska.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah. So if Kamala wins, Minnesota, Wisconsin, Michigan, and PA. Trump wins Nevada, Arizona, Georgia, but also secures it's never going to happen, the single elector from Nebraska or Maine, winning one more from, actually, I mean, maybe.
I think the last election, he did get the one from Maine. He got one from Maine.
Yeah, but there's already one red in Maine.
Oh.
And so there's 4 up there. You can get a 269, and then Trump wins through the House because the Republican delegation, and then Democrats
just pick the vice president.
Yeah, but actually, I don't know, because
maybe they pick Biden.
Kamala Harris would be the tie-breaking vote in the Senate. Is she going to vote for herself to be vice president?
Yes.
Yes. Oh, 100%.
That would be amazing if she did. No, I don't think she would. I would think she would want to be on the ticket.
Here's another thing, too, is I think it's the majority vote, but it doesn't have to be 2 candidates, right? So if the Republicans and the Democrats in the Senate are like, we're going to propose a candidate, and then 2 independent Democrats, who do you have? You have Manchin and you have Bernie.
Mm-hmm.
Who else? Is there one more?
I think it's King out of Maine.
He's independent, right?
Yep.
Cinema.
So
He caucuses with Democrats.
Right.
Cinema too.
But if they propose Bernie Sanders instead, then the Republicans just win with 50 votes, having the majority against 47 for the Democrats.
Also, what if, I don't know if they can do this anymore, but because remember the whole thing where Pence had to certify the election?
Yes, I remember that day.
Kamala Harris is the current vice president, would have to certify if she lost, she would be the one to have to certify for Trump.
You know, it'd just
She
be
had
funny.
said it. There would be a peaceful like they always say, it's only Republicans or conservatives who resist these things. So.
I'm just a crazy conspiracy theorist, okay?
We're from the internet.
Here's what would be funny. It'd be funny if just on January 6, 2025, Kamala's counting the votes, and it's like, she knows she lost, so she's shaking and sweating, and then she just looks around, and then she's like, her heart's beating, and then she's just drenched in sweat. She just grabs all the envelopes and just runs, and she's just gone, and they're
not
like,
certifying it.
yeah, she won't do it. And they're like, where'd she go? And it's like, well, I guess that means she's still the vice president.
Yeah.
There's been no movement here.
Sure.
Do you remember how long it took for Hillary Clinton to call Trump and concede the 2016 election?
Well, she bought all those fireworks.
She had all of those fireworks.
so many fireworks. If I had that many fireworks, I would wait as long as possible.
Is that what she said?
Call. Yeah, she had like millions and millions of dollars worth of fireworks that
and
she
the
was gonna
bars in
set
New York.
off.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember the cover of the magazine, Madam President. It was Time Magazine, I think, Madam President.
But it was, it was some crazy, it was.
And they released them early, too, I think. Like, that was the big deal, that they put them out early because they were made in advance. Like, they were so sure. It's very much like that, Truman.
It's a curse.
Defeated thing.
Yeah. There was the Toronto Blue Jays played the Kansas City Royals in the playoffs in the 80s, and they made all these like things that the Toronto Blue Jays win, and then they lost.
Oh my gosh.
Well, they do that for like every Super Bowl.
And then they like send them to like.
So I just re-endorsed RFK Jr.
You're going to just really mess with his brain. He's going to feel like you're gaslighting him.
Well, I don't know. I don't care. I think the most psychotic thing right now for Trump's supporters is to just do their best to alienate moderates who are coming over from the left. And so Cat Turd and Dilly and a couple other people, like right now it's Cat Turd again. He's, for those who are not familiar, he's a big following, couple million people. Their whole thing right now is for the Trump campaign to eschew, to do away with anybody who is not a diehard Trump cultist from day one. If you are somebody who didn't support Trump from day one, then they say, ignore those people. Don't listen to any of them. It's like, okay, well, like,
It's not a winning strategy.
that's like the guaranteed losing strategy. Apparently, so I've gotten some messages since this whole thing broke where, I jokingly tweeted that I was in this, it was a Twitter thread where I'm like, stop attacking Joe Rogan, stop attacking comedians. We need to get the moderates on board. And then when they kept just saying, F you, screw you, F you, I was like, okay, I'm voting for RFK Jr. How about that?
Yeah.
And then the media was just like, Tim Pool's voting for RFK Jr. And now they're claiming like Tim Pool backtracked after being bullied by Cat. I'm like, I was making fun of the guy. What are you talking? Oh, geez. But look, man, this is how Trump loses. So a couple of people who do political campaigning, not in the Trump administration, have reached out and are expressing concern about how Trump's got these people on social media who are attacking moderates. And I'm like, yeah, well, whatever, dude. Like, don't call me because I don't care. Bro, first of all, if you're going to start insulting people because they don't agree with you 100% instead of trying to win them over, you deserve to lose.
Yeah, for sure.
That's just it. And if, I think Trump did really great with his press conference today. Fantastic. And then what he's trying to do is draw out Kamala Harris basically by attacking her over and over again. What Trump is trying to do at the press conference he did today was to define who she is before she can put out her campaign policies, because she's trying to remain amorphous. She doesn't want campaign policies out there so that she can be anything anyone needs her to be. So this is why Trump did his second press conference where he said, here's what she said, here's what she's done, here's what she's doing, so that the media is going to report these things. This will be the story, and it will force her to adopt positions at least a few months out where he can then go after her. So that's great. However, the Trump campaign has no control over his sycophants who are going online and insulting and attacking moderates, which is a guaranteed path to defeat. It's the meme where you've got the blue guy on the left and the red guy on the right, and the blue guy shoves the dude in the middle, and the guy on the right catches him and says, are you okay? And then the Democrat goes, why are you siding with the bad guys? Why are you siding with them? This is what it's been like. I'll put it this way. Colin Wright has that meme where Elon Musk posted it, where you've got the guy who's on the left, and then the left runs so far left that the middle puts the guy who's liberal on the right. You guys are familiar with that?
Yeah.
Yes.
What Trump's sycophants are doing now is the exact same thing in the inverse, attacking anybody who was on the left who is now supporting Trump in a way that's just off-putting. And if people vote emotionally, and they do, you are guaranteed to get a small amount of people who are going to be like, I can't support these people anymore. They're nuts. You're going to get people like, already after the RFK Jr. thing, I had the Krasensteins, tweeting at me and other liberals being like, see, Tim, see, we told you, aren't we better? And I'm like, no, you're all nuts. They're all nuts. I don't care. Yeah. But they absolutely will try to love bomb you at the moment Trump supporters start attacking you.
Why are they doing it this year? I don't remember 2020.
Yeah, they didn't
at all. Any of that going on.
Yeah, 2016 and 2016 especially was, we're having a party, everyone's invited. And the memes going around were that everyone, so you have that meme of the political compass, and everyone who's not in the fringe far left is alt-right and far right.
Yeah.
That was the right basically saying, everybody is welcome here because we are sane and rational.
Yes.
And now you've got people on X, and don't get me wrong, it's not like it's the real world in a certain sense. It's not like it's where most people spend their time. But going after Joe Rogan guarantees you only one thing. Joe Rogan, to his massive audience of, some of one of the biggest podcasts in the world, he's going to say things where it's like, yeah, those guys attack you. They're crazy. And that's going to resonate with regular people. So at a time when it's so delicate and you need to be going to people and saying like, look, I know you may not like Donald Trump, but here's real rational reasons why he's a better choice. You're ending up with people who are going to be like, I don't know, dude. The people who follow that guy are so nasty and psychotic. They're worse than the woke people. I don't want to be involved with any of it.
I mean, it is 100% a losing strategy. Trump going after Rogan, too, was a big mistake. In my opinion.
Dude.
With the UFC stuff, you're like, dude, they're not booing Joe Rogan at UFC.
No way.
They booed Trump before they booed Rogan at UFC.
Yeah, that's just...
Yeah, I mean, I kind of feel like if Trump and Rogan actually had a legitimate clash where Rogan was actually saying bad things about Trump and Trump about him at the same time, I think you'd get a mixed reaction at the UFC. There's going to be a lot of people who are going to be like diehard Trump supporters who are going to be like, I like you, Joe, man, but Trump's our leader. But there's going to be a lot of people who are going to be like, I don't care one F about Donald Trump. Joe Rogan's the MMA. He's our guy. There are a lot of people who watch Rogan, and there's a reason why Rogan won't endorse Donald Trump. And so by all means.
Has he ever endorsed anybody, though? I think he kind of tries to stay, which is, as a comedian, you kind of want to be. Like, you want to be kind of...
I feel like he said...
Like the moment people know your politics, like, some of your jokes don't work anymore.
He said he would vote twice. He said he would vote for Trump over Biden.
Yeah.
And then RFK Jr. steps in, and he says he's the only one who makes sense.
And he said in the, retroactively, oh, I voted for this person in the past, right? Like, it's not a preemptive endorsement.
Yeah.
Do you think Trump's response to that was of his own volition, meaning, did he see what was going on with Joe Rogan and think, I'm just going to respond to this?
Yeah.
Or do you think an aide was like, look at this clip. Joe Rogan's saying this stuff. You think he just said it as
Trump
out of
was
ego?
just on his phone and saw it and he goes,
Really?
I don't like this, Joe.
I thought they were buddies. They go to the UFC together. Trump comes to the UFC with Joe Rogan. And hang out.
Yeah.
One thing I don't like about
Joe Rogan, Dana White.
internet culture is that you have to respond to everything all the time. I feel like there are a lot of times that Trump says stuff when it doesn't matter. You're fanning the flames of whatever issue is here by becoming involved with it. He could have just let what Joe Rogan said slide.
I guess he's always campaigning. His whole thing is he's like, it's a 24-hour-a-day campaign. So everything he does, probably he's like, this is but I don't know what he was thinking of why this would be good.
He didn't call you and talk to you personally?
No. I didn't hear from him, no.
He just visited McDonald's and he had some... He's full, so he had to get it out.
Sure.
I'm wondering if Trump surrogates and his campaign people are not, like, I'm assuming they must not be reaching out to these high profile individuals and being like, shut the up.
Yeah.
But by all means, let them keep burning it all down.
I mean, they would probably, like someone like Catcher would probably take a screenshot of that and then go post it and see.
Yeah,
like,
there's a risk to tell.
No, you think he would actually sabotage Trump by posting this?
I mean, he kind of sounds like he is currently.
That's true, yeah.
Like he kind of sounds like he is. I don't know why, because you think I don't know what he wants to accomplish.
I mean, this is common in politics, to be completely honest. Like, you look at far left activism. I can tell you, like, 10 years ago, you've got these far left activists who are trying to develop a strategy. And these are evil MFers, dude. These are people who are like, here's how we trick people into getting arrested so that we can recruit them. But then you always had the really dumb people be like, no, we're just going to run in screaming and throwing rocks. And they're just like, no, that's not going to help us. Like, we're trying to enact some Machiavellian scheme here and you're in the way. I can't say I'm surprised. Donald Trump's got, hard-headed, sycophantic people who are going to storm full speed in and Leroy Jenkins his campaign.
So they're basically Ron DeSantis voters in the primary of the Republican Party. Now it's just a presidential term. Ron DeSantis people were super nasty online, and now these guys are on being super nasty online for no reason at all, instead of trying to get more voters on their side.
Yeah, the 2016 campaign was a meme party. Everybody was laughing the whole time. It was funny. And Trump narrowly wins. 2020, it wasn't the same. Trump was an outsider. 2020, he's the insider. The strategy for 2024 should be Trump's an outsider challenging Bidenomics and the failures of this administration and how everyone needs to unite to stop someone who's ripping this country to shreds. And that's got to be the play. I mean, there's a million and one different things you can do, but ultimately it comes down to you need to open up the door and say everyone's welcome to come to the Donald Trump party and hang out and have drinks and be friends. But if the idea is you're not one of us and you weren't here on day one, so you don't count and you're not allowed to be here, then people are going to be like, I'm going to go party somewhere else.
Yeah.
Joe Rogan there's a video going viral that we talked about yesterday where Republicans against Trump, I think it is, posted a clip of Joe Rogan saying Kamala's a pro. Look how she handled this thing at the event. They are trying to drive up the narrative that Joe is praising Kamala as much as they can. It's going to work.
Yeah. And I mean, I do think I saw him on one of his episodes saying like he thinks she's going to win. You're like, that just might be his opinion on what he thinks the outcome is going to be. Doesn't necessarily make an endorsement of any sorts.
I think Joe's just trying to stay out of it all.
Yeah, he's trying to stay out of it. He's just like, I don't want to.
He cares about comedy and his comedy club.
Yeah, exactly.
All he wants to do is be happy and live life.
Yep.
That's all he wants.
Which I think a lot of Americans want.
Yes.
Yeah, they just want their eggs to not be so expensive.
They want to be able to pay their bills without going into debt.
Yeah, which is honestly the Kamala Harris price control thing for the people who are like not involved in politics and they don't really like pay attention to the stuff or know much about the stuff. They'll probably just say like, "Oh, she's gonna make my eggs cheaper. Cool, sounds good."
You have to explain the consequences.
Yeah. Like people don't know. You're like, there's second and third order consequences to this stuff, and this is.
I was looking at that today. 2021 was like 140, then 22 was 150, 19, and then 2020 was 147. 2021 was a little bit more, but once we hit 2022, once Biden took over and his policies came over, it was 286.
I mean, I'll tell you
and
one.
It went up and higher.
Any New Yorker knows exactly what I'm talking about. When I moved to New York in 2019, there was dollar sliced pizza everywhere. That does not exist anymore.
Really?
$1.50
That was such an
now.
iconic
minimum.
part, yeah.
That's a 50% increase. That is 50% more money.
Like Brothers Pizza?
Yeah,
That's the famous one.
Yeah, Two Brothers Pizza. There's one right by our studio. Boys Cast Studio, and it's all like that was like when I got there, I was like, oh my god, dollar pizza, $1.50 pizza now, and it seems like it's only 50 cents. No, that is 50% higher.
It was. I mean, to be honest, when I was
Granted, it was $1 for 20 years, but
right in New York 10 years ago, dollar pizza was always crazy to me.
Yeah.
Like that's so cheap. You could walk outside and be like, hey, let me get a buck, and the guy would be like, yeah, sure. Like that's how cheap it was, and you got a slice of pizza.
Yeah,
$1.50. I mean. Now,
I'm not complaining.
Who's going to give you $2?
This is crazy. I'm just saying that literally the last 5 years got rid of dollar pizza.
Right now, there is a young mother with 3 kids.
Yeah.
And
she's $4 to her name.
And she's got, and she's going
She
in
can
there.
only get. She can't get even 3 slices because
she buys 2 slices, and then she goes to her kids, and then she hands them to her kids, and then and then she just coughs and she goes hungry.
Yeah, she can get the soda.
Do you remember what the Costco, have you guys seen this? The Costco CEO was like, no matter what, we are not raising the prices of the hot dogs.
But they lose
right?
a lot of money. And the
They
rotisserie chicken.
But they make money on other things, and what they're saying is like, basically people will come here and eat this because it's what they can afford, and also like it will hurt us. Like people want to be able to buy food. This is a better.
Yeah, that's just like a loss leader. They go, hey, we're willing to lose $10 million a year on hot dogs.
Dude, I don't
a good dog at
I
Costco.
don't know that this warrants a segment, but I have to.
You love this.
I love this so
Hot
much.
dog
So,
related?
so in response to Kamala Harris enacting price controls, this guy Steve Cortez said this is Marxist. He deleted his tweet, I guess. But Ed Krasenstein tweeted this. He said, MAGA now thinks that cracking down on price gouging is considered Marxist. Doesn't Trump keep trying to take credit for setting a limit on the price of insulin? Didn't Trump give subsidies to farmers after his trade war greatly harmed them? I guess Marxism is only Marxism when the left uses government power to control prices or give money to certain people, right? When I read that, I started busting out laughing because he literally just defines communism and is like, I guess communism is when you're communist. And it's just, so I had to tweet and I just laughing. Yes, literally effing yes. When the left uses government to control prices and give certain people money, that is literally what we are talking about with Marxist theory, communist theory, and socialist economics. And so then he goes in this thing about like Trump doing it too. And I'm like, dude,
tariffs on goods is not the same thing as
Sure.
No.
That's like an international trade.
A lot of people pointed that out. And giving subsidies to farmers literally is socialist economics. We are a mixed economy. Yeah. I am not a fan of how the government keeps intervening in the market. Trump does not get any special treatment. Marxism is Marxism. Communism. He's like, so is that Marxism too? Yes. Yeah. It doesn't
also,
change.
who do you even propose is doing the price gouging? Like, if you live anywhere that has, this is from a free market standpoint, but if you have somewhere that has 2 grocery stores, if one of them is jacking up the price of one thing, then the other one is like, we're just going to lower our price by 50 cents on eggs, and then everybody's going to come buy their eggs from us, and then the other person is going to be like, we lost all our business, so now we're going to lower it. So it's like, I don't think they are actually price gouging. I think
I'm pro price gouging,
but I don't think anybody is really.
I am.
Pro what?
You're price gouging.
I'm pro.
I'm not
price
saying
gouging.
pro. I'm saying people
I am.
are actually are stores actually price gouging?
Oh no, they're not. But I'm for it.
Sure. I mean,
I think anyone selling a good or labor can choose their own prices. Thank you and have a nice day.
I mean, Balenciaga sells a roll of tape for $3,000 that you put on your wrist. So that is price gouging. But if someone wants to pay it,
really?
Yeah, if someone wants to pay it, then
right,
go for it.
And so price fixing, no, that should be illegal. When big corporations get together and say, hey, don't lower your prices, down to a certain level so that we can all rip a profit off these people. Okay, that's collusion and conspiracy to manipulate the markets.
Yeah, you're acting like a cartel at that point.
But I was mentioning this on the morning show. If like a hurricane hit and it wiped out all the infrastructure and people were like, we have no water. Oh no, we're going to die. And then some guy's like, oh man, I bet if I go and buy a bunch of water and drive it down there, I can sell this for a great amount and make some money because people have no choice. So they want to ban that because it's price gouging, right? No. You have to drive 60 miles with all the water you bought and all the work you did, and you can still only sell the bottle for $1. They're going to be like, why? I'll only make $30. What's the point?
Yeah, you want to incentivize them to
Then the people down there die of dehydration.
Sure.
Or you can tell people, sell the water for whatever you want because the people down there will pay whatever, and that's fair market. So then you show up and you're like, I got water, it's $5.
Also, but after the first guy drives down there and makes a killing off of selling this water, then other people find out. They're like, wait.
And then the prices go down.
And then the prices just becomes a normal market. And then prices just drop until it's just normal prices.
And you live in New York City. Like, I've gone to Mets games and Yankees games. You're walking to the stadium.
Yeah.
Everyone's selling water in the street.
I mean, subways everywhere. I mean, a lot of the migrants now, that's kind of how they're getting by is they sell cookies and water and stuff out of coolers, and you're like, they sell it for whatever, they sell it for the same price as you'd get it in a store or less.
So they have to make it competitive.
People just walk by and you're like, I want a bottle of water, and you just buy it from someone, and it's in your hand instead of they save you the convenience of literally walking into a store.
Yeah.
Right, but again, nobody's price gouging generally gets worked out by any sort of market force.
See, the thing about this tweet with, and I'll give the credit to the Krasensteins for this much. They get mentioned as much as they do because they actually interact. A lot of these liberals literally don't. They live in their own bubble world. So I can respect that. But this is quite literally the meme of if you criticize them, then you must think Trump is infallible and Trump is perfect. Right? So for Michael Malice, he posts this quote where it's like, I can't remember, it might have been Dave Smith who said this, that when you criticize a Democrat, their supporters have they have no idea how to respond to you, so they just assume you're pro-Trump. Mm-hmm. Dave Smith is a really good example of this when he was on Kennedy, and then he says Joe Biden did this, that, and this, and Obama did this. And then the other guy goes, yeah, well, Donald Trump does this. And Dave goes, you're right. He did. I don't like Donald Trump.
Yeah.
But they just don't know how to respond other than we
tribalism.
hate Trump. Well, for Democrats, it's all they have.
Yeah.
Like the Mises Caucus guys are overwhelmingly saying they're going to vote for Donald Trump, and they don't like him, but they really don't like Joe Biden, and it's a rock and a hard place. Biden supporters, or I should say Kamala Harris supporters now, don't understand that a lot of Trump's voters are critical of him. Some don't like him, but they recognize functional policy and a functional government over whatever it is the Democrats are.
But that's why they keep saying this is a vibes election, right? I mean, we're hearing it over and over again, like the same kind of adage of, well, he's a candidate I'd want to have a beer with, right? I'm sure there are tons of people who are going to cast a ballot for Donald Trump who would never want to have a beer with him, who don't like him, or they would have a drink just to criticize
plug their
him.
nose and they go, this is the best of the
Right.
two options for my life. And
And the stuff that you're proposing is actively against stuff that I believe in. I mean,
Yeah.
you were talking about this before with if Kamala Harris rolls out this incentive for first-time home buyers, like if you've been renting for 2 years and we'll give you,
which is smart, to be honest. So,
It sounds smart, but it is government intervention in the market, which is
Yeah.
like, I don't know how you can have it both ways if you're going to be critical of economics, but also realize
Well,
that this is something we've been creeping into for a long time.
Yeah, I don't think the average voter even thinks about that. I mean, most voters are single issue voters. Like the abortion thing for the Republicans is like could very well cost them the election because
Not if they focus on the economy. I think.
Well,
that,
the problem is
economy,
that
the
they're-
pressures of the economy could outweigh concerns about abortion.
but there's so many like young women like I know personally, and it's not even true. But they've taken, like the Democrats have taken over the narrative where they're like, they're going to take away your abortions in this whole country. Like people in New York City, they're like, they're going to take away my abortions or access to them. Like they're never going anywhere in New York City. I can't speak for other states or whatever, but because it's state by state basis, but they're not. It's,
which is what Trump wants. He wants it to be state by state.
Well, that's what it is.
And Kamala Harris is like, anytime, like I think it was Iowa just passed like a 6-week abortion ban, or just it was allowed to go into effect, and she was like, a Trump abortion ban. The whole thing was done under Biden. Like the law was passed,
well-
the court case was tried, and she's still labeling them all as Trump abortion bans.
But it's effective, is what I'm
It
saying,
is.
because they're just like the Democrats are just saying, vote for them, no abortions, and people go, okay, like I don't need, and they're not actively countering it, the Republicans, to say like this isn't what's happening at all. They're not, and there's a lot of people who are like, well, they're not saying that they're not doing it. I mean, Trump has said he's not doing it, but they're not getting the message across.
I honestly don't think liberal women even actually care about abortions.
They do. Like,
I don't-
like my wife's cousin. Literally, the reason she's voting for Kamala Harris.
I know she's saying that, but what I mean to say is that she's just repeating what she heard on the internet.
Why does she care so much? What's the big?
How many
deal?
abortions has she gotten?
None.
Exactly.
As far
They
as
don't
I know, and
actually care.
she has kids. She has no abortions in her future, but it's more just the idea that they're going to police her body and her
I
daughters.
disagree. It is that someone on the internet told her that's what's popular, and so that's it. That's the majority of it.
But it doesn't matter. That's
think
what she thinks, and that's why she's voting. And
that-
they're not able to counter that.
And the language that they've developed, like you're taking away rights, you're policing
Exactly.
women's body, you're telling them what they can't do. Like
I-
that emotional language is effective with certain strains of women in America.
Yeah.
I know what the answer is, but Trump doesn't have the balls to do it. It's to come out and advocate that liberals get abortions. I'm not kidding. He should come out and say, look, ladies, you should get the abortions. Honestly, I think we'd be better off if you all did. So I'm going to make sure you can. If you want to abort your kids, I encourage it. Get rid of them. We don't need any more.
Maybe a punch
But he doesn't
card.
want to do that because he doesn't want to upset.
10th one's free.
He doesn't want to upset the evangelical vote.
That'd be a
right?
landslide.
Like encouraging anyone to get an abortion. Like,
But if
Well,
he
that's
said it,
he's got to.
but if he
He's got to
said
do
it
something.
sarcastically.
Yeah.
No, it wouldn't matter because the media would report it
like
as
he's-
literal.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
report it as literal, and then you're like, you lose another side of the argument.
That's what I would do. I mean, that's just me. I'm not running for office, and I never am going to.
Again, lots of people, most people are not super online, right? They see a headline and they go, "That's what's happening."
How would your, what do you say, your sister,
My wife's cousin.
wife's cousin, how would she respond if I was like, if you went to her and you said, have you considered if abortion is right for you? Would she be offended by that?
No.
What if you said, I think you really should consider getting abortion next time?
That probably.
Well, why?
She just is like, well, it just should be my. And she's even talking about like she has 2 daughters, and she's like,
What's wrong with getting abortions? And then you could be like, you're not pro-life, are you? What do you mean?
Yeah.
Like, maybe you should consider whether
and she's
or not.
like, I want the choice. Yeah. She's like, maybe,
Yeah.
maybe I would need it.
If that's right. Maybe you should. I think we'd all be better off.
Yeah.
She has no choice in New York. Why?
That's my point. Is that people do have the choice in like certain states. Definitely in New York, that's never going anywhere. But the Democrats are saying they're taking away your
Yeah.
abortions. People are believing it.
Yeah.
People are saying, oh, they're going to take our abortions away.
It's interesting because the evangelical, like the very pro-life movement in America gets mad at Trump because they're like, no, you should want to act on the federal level. And Trump effectively doesn't want to. He says it should be regulated by the states, which allows states like New York to do one thing where states like Iowa would do something else.
Yeah.
And this is what the
But
mainstream
they're
media
believing that
skips.
it's going to be a federal thing. Like if you ask her or like any, New York liberals, they'll be like, yeah, it will be federal. Like that's
under Kamala Harris, it would be federal in a way that they would like
But
it.
they're thinking Trump comes in and they go, first thing he does, day one, federal ban on abortions in all of America.
Yeah.
Like if you ask them, that's what they think.
And it's, I mean, you're right. It is one of the areas that like Trump's response is sort of nuanced, right? He's saying like, I have my personal feelings, but should be regulated by the states. That doesn't market as well as like they are coming for you.
Of course.
They're going to ruin your life.
It's not his is not fear based, and theirs is fear based, and I'm just saying they're winning that argument, like that messaging. They're winning 100%.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I think like the words that I think of with. Because abortion is so much of a like feminist thing that like, if you can't have abortions, then your life is over.
Hey, I know a lot of guys who like abortions too. Their lives are over as well. So.
Right. That's the thing. Like, I think this is so crazy. Like, it is something that I think a lot of men who don't want to take the responsibility for, the consequences of having sex, they would be like, well, really, we should keep these in place. But the words that I think of that kind of go with the same language of like they're stealing your rights are like empowerment, that like having the choice is empowering, which Trump is literally empowering the states to deal with this issue. Like you could start to kind of take the language that they're using and apply it to your argument. But I think because it's so controversial and even on the right, it's not there's not like one position on abortion. They just don't want to talk about it.
Yeah.
Which like, I can't say like it is.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's some messaging that they could figure out. They just have not.
Yeah, they've never really been able to nail down exactly.
And they're on the defensive with the weird stuff, like with all the.
I feel like they're moving a little bit away from the weird stuff.
Yeah, but they were like when the weird stuff started popping off, and then they were like, "Oh, we're not weird. You're weird."
Yeah.
Like the moment you're doing that, you're losing.
As soon as they announced Kamala, I felt like the Trump campaign was on the defensive, and it
Yeah.
makes sense. They weren't really sure what to do. On the other hand, I do think if they focus more on the policies, that they are pressuring the Harris campaign to sort of get together and respond.
Yeah, and I think I think they're gonna. He's firing his.
They just brought on Corey Lewandowski
Yeah.
Wow.
and Tim Murtaugh, who was
good
here a
move.
couple of months ago. He's on too.
Oh, wow. That was smart move. 2016 was so much better than 2020.
Yeah.
I wish I was there for that. That would have been so fun.
Where were you?
2016?
I wasn't paying attention. I was a normie, loving life.
I think that's true though. It's like 2016 woke up a ton of people, but
2020
actually
woke-
it was like, or like maybe you were awake by 2018. So you
No.
were prepared. Really, 2020 is what woke you up?
Yeah. Once COVID, I
Why?
sat at home for
Oh,
a year and a
COVID.
half.
Yeah.
Well, I started watching the news. I got nothing going on. I'm like, okay, well, this is kind of effed up. What are they doing over there? They're bad people. This is not right.
Yep.
Yeah. What about you?
What?
When did you get interested in politics, or was it always sort of something?
I've kind of always been interested in it. Yeah.
Yeah.
For a long time. My dad always just watched the news, so I was kind of. But
I think it makes a difference.
Probably like definitely under Trump, where I was like, I like legitimately probably 10 years ago, like if I was like, what's on the news? And I would just turn on CNN, just uncritically watch, and I go, yeah, that is what's going on, huh?
lot of people do that.
Well, for sure. And then less so now, and then probably in 2018, I was like, wait.
But it was
lie a
kind
lot.
of it was kind of fine 10 years ago. It was
Yeah,
bad.
they weren't lying as much, probably.
I
for
think
real,
they
though.
were.
I mean, look at that bit where Colbert is talking to Caitlin Collins. and
hilarious.
He's like, you guys do objective news, and the audience busts out laughing.
I think
Like,
there's
nobody
always been
believes it.
issues that the media doesn't want to talk about, and whether it was because they just don't think it looks good or whatever else, like there's always been a bias. It's just it got
I mean, it
more
used to be
aggressive.
really bad. Like it used to be, there was 5 networks. There was no, a handful of newspapers, all conglomerates, 5 networks. And if those, few people who own these things decide, hey, we're not going to run this story, you just don't hear about it. Like
Yeah.
that's it. Like they
And
have the
there's-
power to
crazy.
kill you, or they have the power to
Yeah, and there's no alternative, right? It's not like you can go on YouTube and be like, I'm interested in this topic.
Back
so-
then there wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now.
Or X or Twitter, because half the stories want to be there for one side of the story.
Let's jump to this story. We'll just get back into the news. We got this from Newsweek. Secret Service investigating report. Agent left Trump event to breastfeed. Well, I mean, that's kind of important. You got a kid, right?
Yeah.
The Secret Service investigating report says an agent left her post at a Trump event to breastfeed. In a statement shared to Newsweek, Anthony Guglielmi said all employees of the U.S. Secret Service are held to the highest standards. While there was no impact to the North Carolina event, the specifics of this incident are being examined. The remarks come after Real Clear Politics correspondent Susan Crabtree said that a female Secret Service agent abandoned her post at Wednesday's campaign rally for Trump to breastfeed with no permission or warning to the event site agent. The site agent went to do one final sweep of the walking route and found the agent breastfeeding her child in a room that is supposed to be set aside for important Secret Service official work. Why is a woman who is nursing protecting Donald Trump right now?
Why is she even, well, this is maybe my liberal brain here, but I'm like, why is she even working? Like, does she not have maternity leave? Like, are they like
for like a year though? Like it doesn't. You don't know how small her kid. Look, I'm family first. I think
how long
breastfeeding.
nurse for?
Some women do it for like a year because they say
I
it's
did
good
it
for the
till I
baby's
was
immunity.
12.
Some people do
was
it for a
13.
long time and develop weird issues.
I was a late bloomer.
But you know, the thing is, I feel like it's strange that she has her kid close enough at hand to breastfeed them while also protecting the president.
Well, I think they were saying she had like her husband or family, but even still, I'm like, I don't know. Like, did she have to go back to work?
If you have a job to do,
Do they not give you, like, you're saying it's till 1 normally?
Yeah, I mean, they're not saying
What's
how small this kid is, right? Like,
Yeah, but
if
I'm just saying,
you get
what's
12 weeks maternity leave, so your baby's like 3 months old.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you could still.
Yeah. If you only have 12 weeks, I don't know what maternity leave
I don't know
is
what
like.
the Secret Service
I know,
offers.
like, I have a friend who works at Lululemon, and they're like, come back in 4 years or something.
Some
And
companies,
some companies have like crazy.
Yeah, some
maternity
companies are
leaves.
really generous with like maternity and paternity leave, but
That's not the
If
topic.
you
That's
work
not
for the
the-
government, I don't know. I knew someone who worked for the YMCA and they didn't offer her maternity leave. YMCA, which she was like, I thought it was a pro-family organization,
Right.
and she had to save up all her sick days and stuff. I mean, it really varies.
Here's the thing: it doesn't matter how many times she has off. Is that she left her post from protecting the president? And
Yeah.
her service member. That's the huge thing. She can have 0 days off for maternity leave. I don't care. She should have been there protecting and standing her post.
Yeah.
For Donald
Yeah.
Trump.
Again, that's why I think it's weird that her baby is there. Like,
Yeah, in the area too.
if you're a Secret Service agent, your job is to like potentially put yourself in front of a bullet. Like, why are you like, hang
can't,
on
like-
a minute, I'll just hold my baby and take.
Doesn't
Like,
have like
seems a little weird.
a pump where she can just kind of
Right.
store up the milk or whatever. And then
But I guess
someone
she
can-
would have had to ask to like go pump, and then she would.
Well, no, you pump in advance and then you kind of like put them in the freezer. And then
think you have to,
don't
like-
ask me why I know so much about this, but you know, you kind of store it up.
I think you can, but like if she was like, "Oh, it is time for me to pump," and I'm at this post.
Well, she should have done it
Nothing's going on.
the weekend. Do the
I don't think
weeks.
that's how it works.
No, I thought you can kind
I
of.
think you
Well, aren't you
can
lactating
save
constantly?
up, but yeah, but like you have to like. I hate being the only girl.
Oh, hey,
Again.
hey,
Okay.
school me here.
But it's like the same thing when women are like, my baby eats on a schedule, right?
Yeah.
Like, if your baby's not there to eat, then you have to pump. So if she's saying like, oh, this is my moment where I had to pump, I don't understand why she doesn't have a prearranged, you know, if this is something she has to deal with, I think that's fine. I think it's good to breastfeed your kids if you can. Maybe she shouldn't be a field worker right now. Maybe she should be at a desk where she's able to have accommodations for whatever she needs to do.
Yeah.
Like, I'm family first. I think, you know, it's great that she has a kid and, you know, wants to take care of it, but like, this is maybe not the field position you should be in. This sounds weird.
Did this happen in Butler County? Is this what? Is this
No,
what happened?
no,
Is
this is
the
North
reasoning?
Carolina.
Okay,
Asheville.
You
But
don't
still Trump,
know,
right?
you know.
I have questions about maybe this is somehow related to someone almost taking Trump's life.
That's what I said. Butler County, type
right.
situation.
I mean, we did find out
What
with
if-
the Butler thing that there's a B and C team to the.
What if the story was
Service.
like
The
the
Z
two?
team.
There was supposed to be a guy on top of the roof, but he also went to breastfeed his kid. Hey, you never know these days. You know what I mean?
You
never
don't
know.
know.
A trans man or whatever.
Sure.
The beard.
I don't.
think it's weird that you'd have a breastfeeding mother as an on the ground field posted up agent.
That's
Yeah.
the thing.
Why is she like maybe not forever if she wants to be a field lady? I wouldn't assign her there, but you know, like why aren't you taking this 1 year to like go work
Maybe
in
it's
the
like take your kid to work
headquarters?
day.
Isn't that weird that you would be like, hey, I'm in a place where it could be potentially dangerous? Anyways, pass me the baby.
It was recently quite dangerous. It was like in the last month, it was incredibly dangerous job.
It's just confusing to me. I just don't
Yeah.
understand.
Yeah.
This is what having equal opportunity in the workplace has done to us, though. I wouldn't
30%
point that
by
out.
2030. That's what they want to do. 30% by 2030.
30% of what?
Of Secret Service agents have to be female. Apparently.
Why? Like,
Talk to Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
why? What does that do for us?
Unless you be Secret Service.
You know, I
Unless you
think-
die protecting the president.
I
Look,
think the
that's
problem
honorable
with
that you
the
put your life on the line,
Yeah.
but like, it doesn't always make
I think
sense.
the problem with the system is that when you get a large enough body of people who are ideologically driven, because the natural selection mechanisms have been curtailed by human ingenuity and compassion, you end up with a voting bloc or an influence bloc that's going to make these things happen. I kind of feel like it's inevitable. Humans want to protect other humans. That's just it. We want to prevent other people from dying. We don't like it when people die. That's sad.
Yeah.
But what happens then is nature, the universe, selects for those who are more capable and more adaptable. As we intervene through intelligence, you end up with a lot more people who can't comprehend the failures of a certain system. Hence Kamala Harris saying we want price controls. Then a lot of people going like, hey, that makes sense. Just tell them they can't charge me the money for it, as if that solves the problem. You get a lot of people who normally would not survive. And I'm not trying to disparage anybody, but I'm saying like we want them to be around. But then you reach critical mass. 51% of the population is not adaptable and can't understand complex systems. And then that influence overrides the influence of everyone else. And you end up with female Secret Service agents breastfeeding and not doing their job. Presidents get shot at. Managerial crisis as systems start crumbling and falling down. This leads to an inability of the leaders of a civilization to actually save people. It'll trigger a triage-like economic system where the people who are capable will just bunker down and protect themselves. And then those who are incapable of seeing and understanding complex systems will start to, let's just say, hinder themselves and their capabilities of reproduction for a variety of reasons. The end result is an ebb and flow of human growth and human collapse and human growth and human collapse. I think it's an upward trajectory, but at a certain point, the whole thing could just crumble and collapse like a wave getting bigger and bigger until the crash is huge and humans drop back down due to civilizational level destruction or something.
It's dark.
Well, it's literally just
The grimcast.
It's literally just strong men make good times make weak men. But there's more to it than that.
Weak men breastfeed.
Sure, there's more to it than just saying that strong men make good times, and it's not so much that because life is good, it makes weak men. It's that because life is good, everyone survives.
Yeah.
And then as long as everyone survives, there is a failure rate to at a certain point, you get 51% of the population that is destructive to its own ends, votes for its own destruction, and then everyone suffers. And then from the ashes of the phoenix, the strong start to reemerge, and it's an ebb and flow.
Yes.
Because I'm thinking about, like, I don't know how you navigate out of something like this. Over a long enough period of time, you end up with systems like this.
I mean, if you demand 30% of women have to be Secret Service agents, then some of them are going to, probably a good chunk of them are going to get pregnant, and they're going to have to breastfeed. And if they don't have enough maternity leave, then they're like, I guess I'm going to have to figure this out.
Or if you won't reassign them to...
Or if you don't have policies in
this.
place, or what?
If the world was on fire, literally, then only the people capable of withstanding the fire are going to be dealing with fire, and they will seek to protect everybody else. We're now at a point where the fire has been so curtailed that they're like, let's have breastfeeding women protect the president.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, there's a threshold. Sooner or later, someone will try to take the president's life, or the front runner for the presidency. And you have women who are not capable of doing the job. It's you know...
I mean, this would have been a sketch on Saturday Night Live
Right.
20 years ago, like a breastfeeding
I think
service agent.
I think it was Wokel Distance on X who said this. A man built a fence around his home to protect his wife from wolves. Eventually, the woman came to believe that the man built the fence to keep her in and entrap her, so she tore the fences down and was promptly eaten by wolves.
Sure.
That's one way of putting it. If you didn't have the fence, then the woman's hiding from wolves and the man saying, stay back, I'll protect you. The guy then says, a fence will keep us safe. Without the danger, then people grow accustomed to everything seemingly being fine. And they go, well, who cares if the Secret Service agent is a nursing woman who just had a child? What's the problem? What crises do we really face?
I mean, probably some people did think it was a problem, but they're like, I'm not going to be the guy to say something that this woman can't be breastfeeding.
Well, that's
like,
what I'm
gonna
saying.
I don't want to take that.
Look at the guy on the subway. It was the train in Philadelphia who raped a woman in front of everybody, and they just filmed.
Yeah.
It's at a certain point, people are like, I'm not getting involved. You know, it's like Daniel.
I walked by him on the street last
Penny?
week in New York City.
Daniel Penny?
Yeah,
You did?
I walked by him in the street in New York City. Yeah, he was walking by me, and I'm like, I know this guy from somewhere, and I couldn't figure it
Did
out.
you say something?
No, and then the crazy thing is, I was listening to Malice on Rogan, and then I walked by him, and 60 seconds later, they started talking about him.
No way.
After I just walked by him, but
They
he was
chased him down the street.
No, I'm not chasing down Daniel Penny.
Daniel Penny, are you
he's
listening?
huge. He's like 6'6".
Wow, really?
Massive
Big
guy.
guy? Okay.
Huge guy. Yeah.
That's crazy.
But I was like, I mean, he feels comfortable enough to just walk around New York City. He was
Trump
just
should
walking
hire
around.
him.
Yeah, walking. Well, he has his trial in October.
I think he'll go to prison.
Daniel Penny.
Yep.
Probably.
Maybe that's the October
Yep.
surprise. Maybe people get upset about that.
Yeah.
I think he'll go to prison because you look at the way New York operates politically. No one will like the activists are going to say we don't care about the circumstances of the guy's death. No. It's political. It's a white guy who killed a black guy. End of story. Nothing else matters. And then there's no right in New York City. There's no competent conservative group that's going to defend Penny effectively. And so the courts are going to be like, the judge is going to say, dude, I don't want Antifa throwing bricks through my window.
Yeah.
The jurors are going to be like, I don't care about who this guy is. He shouldn't have come to New York. It's his own fault. Let him deal with the consequences.
He lives in New York.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like, he's not even come there for a weekend. He's just taking the train going to school or something. But yeah.
Yeah, but he's not from there.
Yeah, I don't know where
That's what I mean. Like, he shouldn't have come here. It's his own fault.
What's that?
Isn't he from Long Island?
I think he is. Yeah, he's from the area. But anyways, yeah, I don't. It's not looking good for him. I would say that. Hopefully, maybe there's a jury that kind of
that adds to the degradation of everything else.
Well, yeah, but maybe he gets a good lawyer. I think he probably had a huge crowdfunding thing.
I think he raised like several million.
Yeah, so at least he'll have a good defense at the very least, because I think most people, especially in New York, as it kind of degrades and gets a little dicier.
Do you think it could be like Rittenhouse, where people who listen to the trial were like, "Oh, we get why this happened," but people who only listen to the media were like, "He killed 3 black people and he's a terrible person."
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there'll be. There's a chance of that happening. But
because I felt like the media tried to paint
it seemed
Gordon
pretty.
Neely
I mean, there was
as like this saint, and he. It's sad that he lost his life. On the other hand, like he wasn't just like a totally random person.
No,
he had this intense.
And there was a week
history.
after that, like literally 1 week after that, there was another scenario where it was 2 black guys, and the one guy was like doing something similar, and then the other guy stabbed and killed him, and then they were like, "We're not charging him." And this was like a week after Daniel Penny.
Really? I didn't realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah. So.
Well, and initially,
it is a race thing. No
interviewed
question.
Penny, and like he said what happened. They're like, "Okay, you're free to go." And then it was after, when there's a huge pressure campaign, they were like, "Actually, come back. You have to turn yourself in."
Yeah.
Which is kind of wild, right? Like, I can't imagine being a New York City police officer for so many reasons. Like, it's such a political organization, and I know, like, at least for me, like you think of like Law and Order SVU or like old cop movies that are set in New York. You think of them as being these like kind of blue collar-esque guys, but really
now
all of it is ideological.
Well, now they're like, because I think they're, I don't know if they're having like problems recruiting or whatever, but you see them now and
their recruitment's down a lot.
Yeah, but like I saw 2 in the East Village the other day, and they were like, they must have been 20 years old. Like 2 guys were like 20. Like they don't even have like properly fitting uniforms. Like it looks like they just,
because they're still growing.
They're still like, and they're like, they don't have it just, and they're like, and I mean, it is a really tough job being a New York City Police Department or officer. Yeah.
Well, Chicago's in for it.
Yes.
Let's jump to this story. This is from WGN9. I remember WGN back when I lived in hometown Chicago. Muslim leaders expect 100,000 pro-Palestinian demonstrators for the DNC. Yeah, that's why we're not going anywhere near there, because I don't think it'll be 100,000. Usually when people subscribe, it's about 10%, but 10,000 pro-Palestinian, anti-Israel demonstrators rioting in Chicago is not going to be a fun time. And the interesting thing is they're splitting up the DNC between the United Center and McCormick Place, which are not anywhere near each other. So it's going to be very, very difficult to get back and forth between the meeting places. It's actually really weird they're doing this.
Do they just split up and half of them go one place, half of them go the other?
It's more, McCormick Place is substantially larger. So the main event for the DNC is going to be at the United Center, and then all of the official like meetings and everything else will be at McCormick Place.
What happens at McCormick Place normally?
It's like a convention center. I think it's like 400,000 square feet.
Wow.
It's 2 buildings with a bridge. It's absolutely massive, like 40-foot ceilings or some ridiculous height. Awesome, fun.
I mean, they could. It's not that far from kind of Michigan. Like they could get that 100K number. I mean, Michigan's not just.
Minneapolis is only a couple hours.
Yeah, it's not that far. Like I don't think it's
several
that
hours, but
crazy that they actually hit those numbers.
But the issue is for people who need to travel between McCormick Place and the United Center. Good luck with the protests and the barricades and everything they're doing. This is going to be insane.
I think George Soros set up a shuttle system, so just to get them back and forth.
Yeah, but that's
not for like the regular people who live in the area.
No, for the protesters.
Oh, good. That's nice
of
him.
Yeah, he's nice. He's got some pallets of bricks that he's laid out, and
good.
Very Soros of him.
It's quite Soros.
Uncle George, up to his antics.
I think the protests are going to be interesting because, you've seen a couple clips where Kamala has had to respond to protesters who are in her speeches, and she had that like, I'm
keep
talking.
doing it. Keep doing this if you want Trump to win.
Right.
Hey, real quick, just like take a look at this.
I'm looking. There we go.
Yeah, United Center and McCormick Place are very far away from each other in Chicago. Look at all these blocks. There's going to be protests all over this building, all over here. Everything's going to be locked down. I don't know how people working these events are going to navigate this. I don't know how journalists are going to navigate this.
And it's right by going right through the University of Chicago. The college is going to be right out there, right there too.
Are they saying what events?
UIC.
In which
That's
place?
yeah, University of Illinois actually. University of Chicago is in the south.
Well, you know what? I think the students are probably by that time. A lot of them will be back
in school.
So you're like,
That's
This
actually now
weekend.
a hub for all of them.
well, that's a lot of people who will join. You know, it's going to be the first week back, and what's a fun thing to do?
Protest.
I can't believe this. I really got to check this. They're really because it's at the United Center, right?
Yeah.
National Convention.
Yeah. I mean,
Have they said like what the division of the campuses are? Like, oh, media's over here and speeches are over here, or whatever.
that I don't know. This
Tim
is
said is more.
Yeah, United Center and McCormick Place. That's insane to me. This is absolutely insane to me. Why they are doing this?
Do they have any events concurrent, or they're just different, like different times?
So the RNC, they had the Fiserv Forum, big stadium. That's where they did the main event. Literally right next to it was the other buildings they were using for
The delegates and all that stuff.
for like meetings and press and other stuff. And when you walked out of the building, you were in one big secure area in Milwaukee. After you passed the security, you could walk to either building without issue in the
you
secure
didn't have to
zone.
go through security again.
This is crazy. This is navigating the entire city when they're expecting mass protests and rioting that some people are comparing to 1968. So even if we did decide to go there and do a show in Chicago, I'm like, where would we go? They're so
You
far
just
away
gotta
from
pick
each other.
one of them, and that's the one you pick.
That's crazy. I mean, McCormick Place is massive. Absolutely massive. That's probably where all the media and everything's going to be. I wonder if they're
I
separating.
mean, the United Center is like a blip compared to it. Like,
Oh,
the
dude.
satellite imagery. It looks.
Yeah, McCormick Place
10
is
times
no
the size.
joke. McCormick Place is just ridiculously huge.
Wow.
Yeah, it's both buildings. It's like 3 buildings basically.
Yeah.
Huge convention center and a big parking structure. Okay, so you're gonna get out of the car, or you're gonna get out of United Center, and you're gonna jump in your car, and there's gonna be protest. Every road's gonna be blocked off. They're gonna have, like in Milwaukee, they had all the roads are closed. It's you couldn't even get anywhere near the secure zone because they have those big concrete blocks blocking the street because they have multi-layered security. Someone's like, dude, they're gonna be throwing Molotovs. They're gonna be.
I mean, they're there to
crazy.
disrupt, and I think that's what they're going to do. They're going to disrupt, I guess. Even if they shut off streets specifically for traffic for the event goers, they're just going to go in those streets.
There's just too much. And with UIC being right there, oh, dude, this is gonna be crazy.
Downtown Chicago businesses is already boarding up
Yeah.
Yep.
as of 2 hours ago.
Because this weekend is when it kicks off.
Yeah.
Yo, that's wild. Like nothing happened at the RNC. A bunch of wingnuts were outside. There was like a couple hundred people in there holding up signs, just yelling. And it was like, I walked right past.
Yeah.
Like literally nothing happened. Chicago is going to be crazy. To be honest, I would be really surprised and it'd be very funny if literally nothing happened.
In Chicago?
Yeah, just nobody cared.
I don't think that's going to.
Considering how big Chicago is and considering the anger over the installation of Kamala Harris, yeah, I think it's going to get nuts.
Yeah.
I mean, you saw some. I mean, Wood Lyman on Twitter did a lot of good reporting when there were the pro-Palestine protests in D.C. and like the paint and climbing the gates at the White House and all this stuff. Like it you can only imagine now that people have known for a long time that this is like sort of the big. You know,
I mean, also,
I
they're
don't wanna
not
say,
known
like,
for
crescendo, but like this is a big
Yeah.
moment to get attention.
I mean, they're the ones calling Genocide Joe, and again, they're not known for not doing anything. Like their whole thing is they go and fairly disruptive. So.
Yeah. And I've heard like totally normal people be interviewed. They're saying, you know, I'm a Democrat, but I didn't like Joe Biden, and I will only support Kamala Harris if she vows to make sure there's a complete ceasefire with no contingencies, you know, whatever else. And like she hasn't done that, so they have
she's not
no
going
reason.
to.
No, of course she's not going to. But she has no way of deterring them. There's not a false promise that you can offer like,
And you can't have the police come in and just crack down on them hard because that won't look good either.
fire hoses and just spray.
Yeah. I mean, she's in a tough spot on this regardless.
But that's why I think she responded to that protester breaking into a rally with like righteous feminist energy, right?
Sure.
Like, I am speaking, because that's the only thing she can try to.
I think you only have one of those. You can't just go to
so.
that toolbox every time.
And I
play
thought that was borrowed from
woman's-
her debate.
Yeah.
I'm speaking. I'm speaking.
Yeah.
I'm gonna start doing that to all of you all the time.
A female consultant said that's going to play really well with women. Do it.
I feel like it doesn't. I'd love to see the numbers and the polls on that, because I think some women, sure, but there's got to be enough
Yeah,
women.
no, there's
who
a
are
lot
like,
of chicks who are
you're just
the
kind of
girl
annoying.
boss stuff, and they go, yeah.
Well, like
a lot of yes queening.
The trope is that women say that when they're in the workplace, the men don't listen to what they have to say. And so Kamala Harris saying, I'm speaking, which is funny because in any debate between guys, they just talk over each other.
Yeah.
But the woman has to make sure she stamps her foot. I wonder if that was actually detrimental to her, to be honest. Not like there's probably a lot of women who like it, but it's a weird thing to do when Trump just starts talking. Trump will go, excuse me, no, you can't say that because blah, blah, blah. He doesn't say, I'm speaking, and then pause.
I mean, but the pro-Palestine people, even if she ignores them, they're like, what are you going to do? Vote for Donald Trump? Like, what are you going to do? Like, what is the threat here?
I don't know if they're going to vote yet. I honestly don't know if the far leftists that are.
I mean,
I'm not sure
I
if they're gonna get
still
involved.
think if they think they can make a difference and they're forced with that decision, they're like, what are you going to do? Vote for Donald Trump? You're not going to vote for Donald Trump.
I think it's mixed. I think that some will eventually cave and vote whoever the Democrat is, no matter what. But I think there are people where this is your single issue, you're just not going to turn out. And that's actually, I think, what
I suppose that's an odd, but these are pretty politically active people. The thought of them saying, like, we're just going to abstain, and you're like, okay, well, if you abstain, then you might get Donald Trump. So
They don't care. They just don't want to be oppressed. They don't want guys. to
And
be
I think there's like
all
the
right.
virtue.
I mean, I don't know
saying.
if I don't know if they think it out like that.
No, well, I was thinking
no,
like
you're right. You're right.
Like, you know what I mean? But I'm
Yeah.
like, you're not voting ends up with Donald Trump.
They have-
Yeah,
one
but it's
thought.
the virtue of like, I won't vote for someone who has done anything wrong, right? Like people.
But Donald
feel,
Trump will arguably be worse.
Sure, but
Like, if you ask them, he will be anyways.
maybe, but maybe that's the thing. Like, it's like saying I'm not voting for either one of you, and therefore I was not a part in the destruction of what. Like, it's
Sure.
not super logical. It's
Yeah.
mostly emotional.
Yeah, they don't operate on logic really, but
No, but. Both of them are bad, and so therefore you have the moral high ground by saying like I wouldn't even support them no matter what.
yeah, I guess if that's their thought. But
hard
I
to-
mean, if I'm Kamala Harris, I'm not giving them too much oxygen because for that reason exactly where I go. Who do you have to vote for?
No
Yeah,
one.
Who are you going to vote for then?
It's like the DeSantis on our side.
Yeah.
Voters. What are you going to do? You're going to vote for Kamala? Or you're going to vote for Trump?
Exactly.
But I think Harris is.
Dave Smith.
Well,
right,
yeah.
right in.
I think Harris is.
Joe Biden,
concerned-
right in.
Ace Oliver.
I never hear about him anymore ever.
The Mises Caucus, like the Libertarian Party was shining. It was like a rocket to the moon. And then they put Chase Oliver in front and everyone just jumped out.
Man, I moderated the Colorado Libertarian State Convention. And,
was it?
It was.
Did anybody take their pants off?
No, but it was nutty. It was some of the things that these candidates say. I'm like, this is crazy. Some of them are like, no borders anywhere. I'm like, really? You think this can get you elected, huh? Just no
Because
borders.
libertarians are so like they span such a huge spectrum that there are like very intense no borders, open borders libertarians, and you can also get people who are like, no, of course we need a border to be able to have the kind of like
They were
ideal government.
Some of them were out there.
Libertarians was very enticing. Like Luke used to come on and I used to watch, and I was like, okay, that's cool policy. Got a lot of good things going on. And I was watching, their conference, and then Chase Oliver happened, and I'm like, wait a second, this is.
I mean, he was by far the most polished of all of them. You're like, watching. There was like 5 of them.
This is what they
and
vote
I was
for?
like, if you guys are trying to get the most votes, I'm like, this is the guy in America who by far out of the 5 options would get the most votes.
Chase Oliver.
For sure. He's so polished. Like, he's like a proper, like, old school politician, like, always smiling.
You think Chase Oliver? Wait. Say that.
of the presidential candidates that the Libertarian Party had, like, to me, he was the guy who would get them the most overall votes, in my
Why?
opinion. Because he was so just like a polished politician, who just like knew what the things to say. Obviously, he like policy issues aside, but they all had problems with
Dave Smith.
their platform. Well, Dave Smith's not an option.
Right.
No, Davidson's never an option. I'm talking about the guys who were actually going to be
Like when you line them up on stage.
They were all 5 of them were on stage. We're in like an auditorium thing or whatever, and like between those 5 guys, you're like, yeah, Chase Oliver is by far the best one.
I mean, that's a sad state of affairs for the Libertarian Party. Rechtenwald was pretty good, but I don't know that
Rechtenwald was second for sure, and the other
That's
three
kind of
were
crazy.
Like, the other 3.
Because Oliver's nuts.
Yes.
Yeah, but they all are. They're all nuts.
Rechtenwald's like got some sort of just like. He is a lefty professor guy who came around and was like, these people are crazy. But he's got a little bit more of the populist anti-war indignation and more of a normal human, like regular guy.
He's almost too, but I'm just saying because they all have crazy policies. So you're trying to reach like mainstream Americans who are just used to Republican Democrats who have fairly similar policies beside 3 or 4 things.
No, I agree with you in the sense that Chase Oliver is more of a politician, but,
he's more of a politician.
But Rechtenwald had more connections.
Yeah.
So like we invited Chase Oliver onto the Culture War podcast to debate, and he just like can't do it. And then the VP candidate, was it Mike Termott?
Yeah.
Said he wanted to do it, but he was busy and he couldn't do it either. So we ended up having Mises Caucus guys and just debating the issue, and they're nowhere to be found. They're not doing events. Chase Oliver did an event, and literally not a single person showed up. It was just staffers or something.
I mean, they were literally like one. I think it was Mike Termott, or maybe it was another guy, but they're like, we're polling currently at 0.
Yeah.
Like they were on stage being like, we are currently polling at 0.
Rechtenwald would have polled better than 0.
Yeah.
Because of his connections.
Yeah.
He would get on a lot of podcasts. He would talk. He would, and marketing matters. I do think it's fair to say that personality-wise, Chase Oliver, like if you just took the 2 guys and stood them up, Chase Oliver probably does better than Rechtenwald. But when they actually start talking and when they actually start going out to go to events, Rechtenwald wins.
Yeah, but for someone who's not kind of dialed into the like, maybe doesn't even know what libertarian means or what it is, like I feel like Chase Oliver would
the vibes voter.
The vibes voter, like he would connect more.
But I was that guy.
He's gay and
but
as soon as I learned about him, what actually was that totally.
Well, like he
But
basically
he's not
caused
gonna
like
reach anybody.
No, he's not going to reach, but he basically
can't.
caused like an internal turmoil because all these states are like, we're not even putting him on the ballot.
Well, because he's pro-vaccine mandates.
Yeah.
Lying about it by conflating government mandates with private mandates. His opinion is that private entities should be allowed to mandate vaccines if they want, and the government should not. Okay, so he has a pro-vaccine mandate stance as it pertains to private entities.
Yeah.
And then when I say that that's pro-vaccine mandate, they go, no, it's not. You're lying. You're a liar. You're lying. It's like, I don't think private companies or the government should be able to mandate medical treatments for people. So he's got these weird, like, you know what it is? The libertarians have these people who are like, oppression and authoritarianism is allowed only if it's a large monopoly.
Yeah.
And I'm just like, what?
Yeah, you have some like platforms where you go, these are amazing. I love all of these, and they go, but there's 3 other things you go too crazy.
Yeah.
Like unfortunately, you're like you're not going to reach.
And you have
people.
lost me now.
Yeah. Like literally, you go, this is great. This is great. No.
All right, we're going to go to Super Chats. If you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button? Subscribe to this channel. Share the show if you do like it. Head over to timcast.com. Click Join Us. Become a member. The Members Only Uncensored show will be coming up at 10 tonight, where you as members can call in, talk to us, and join the show. But for now, we will read your Super Chats. T-Bomb says, I defeated Clint 2 days before he splits. Coincidence? Ah, that must be it. YGCast says, Trump deserves a Purple Heart. Who's with me? Well, he was the commander-in-chief, and then he was injured in the line of his civic duties of running for office. No, I don't know about that. I think Purple Hearts are for people who are, in and...
Yeah.
For the Secret Service.
For the secrets, no. All right, Barely a Millennial says, did you see AP finally acknowledging that Hunter Biden sought U.S. government help with Burisma? Are they doing this because they want Joe Biden to step down? Yes. I think that's coming.
And because they're prepping for his legal case, I think. He's going to go to trial in September, so they're starting to be like, here's all of his tax issues.
Yeah. Sam, I was thinking about that today when you're talking about it. Like October, they're going to kick out Biden a month beforehand. That's just...
And it'll be an
emergency. A lot of
emergency or
insane
something.
things going on, but that would be the most insane.
But it would be a huge boost for Kamala.
Yeah.
Because they'd be singing first female president. There'd be confetti everywhere. And then they'd say things like, we can't let the first female president end with a month in. And a lot of
literally did that in Canada in the 90s. That Kim Campbell for like a month, and then she went up for election.
Did she lose?
Yeah.
They're going to say, like, could you imagine if the first female president is only in for a month and then loses? How embarrassing. And then that's
You'll be Canada.
They'll use it as a rallying cry.
So then we have vote for. Sorry.
Barely a Millennial says, my 8-year-old son asked me earlier how I would react if all of a sudden we had 2 moons and I can't stop thinking about it. LOL. if all of a sudden we had 2 moons, I would probably start counting my blessings and digging a hole, or probably just lay back and wait out the end of days, because if there were 2 moons, you'd probably only have a little bit of time before the Earth just got wiped out.
Huge tsunami.
I mean, me and Danny
Yeah,
could give you 2 moons right now. Hey.
But where are the moons going to be? They're going to.
Yeah, is it a single moon that splits? Is it our moon that splits in half, or just a second? Yeah, I guess if it's.
I'm just like, if the moon just doubled itself,
Yeah.
then they'd probably collide, and life would just cease to exist, and everything would get destroyed. Not to mention,
Tell your
like,
kid that.
everyone's astrology signs.
Make sure you
would
tell
be
your
pulled
kid
out
all
whack.
of this stuff.
Yeah. All the astrology signs would be pulled out of whack, and people would start behaving differently, and then who knows?
And white women would get really upset. You
Oh,
can't
yeah.
mess with the astrology.
Astrology.
None of the crystals will work anymore. It'll be a disaster.
Someone called Telly and.
Powder PZ says a photo was leaked from law enforcement showing Crooks open carrying an AR-15 while walking to the building he shot Trump from. Yep.
What do you mean? He had it on his body?
He was carrying, he was
person.
walking with it.
What?
And they tried claiming it was a collapsible stock. What, you mean that drops 4 inches? And then no, he was open carrying it. Okay, BS, dude. Inside job. I don't call it whatever you want. I don't know how that's possible.
Feels like it more and more every day.
All right. Andre says, check out Project Strawberry. Rumors of GPT-5 dropping or already in use today. AI community is going crazy. What is that? Let me ask ChatGPT what it is. Let's see what it says. What is Project Strawberry?
Strawberry.
I didn't say that. I said strawberry.
Strawberry.
ChatGPT says that it is searching 4 different websites. A secretive initiative by OpenAI aimed at significantly enhancing the reasoning capabilities of AI models. The project, which builds upon an earlier effort known as Q, interesting, is designed to enable AI to perform complex tasks, such as autonomous web searches, multi-step problem solving, and even planning something current models struggle with. They say if it's successful, it could represent a significant step towards creating AI with human-like problem-solving capabilities, potentially moving us closer to the concept of artificial general intelligence. Oh, how about that?
You like
How
that?
about that?
Let's go. Kieran the Meat Man says, as a small business in CPG, my entire existence consists of trying to lose as little money as possible on the way to economies of scale. Shout out to Biltong Baron, no carb jerky on Public Square. Right on.
It's good stuff. We've had it here.
Yeah. Pinochet's helicopter tour says, hey, I'm actually a plumber and I watch Timcast. And then he gave me $2. Let's say you're a carpenter and you come home to watch Timcast, or a lawyer, or a Uber driver. Maybe you're a store clerk, or you work at Best Buy. I'm hoping by saying all these things, they'll all start super chatting and I get more money.
Chelsea playing. Sorry.
Leon Yoder says, it's like saying slavery wasn't done right, so we should try it again. Ridiculous and outrageous. Agreed. What have we here? Michael Martin says, starving Americans for Kamala Harris. Kamala. Haha. Ginger Mac Isaac says, Kamala unism. Kamala command economy. She commands it and everyone will starve. Yep. Jose Torres says, Jersey Mike's destroyed Subway.
Jersey Mike.
I do think the emergence of other sandwich chains kind of
That didn't help either.
No, yeah.
Yeah.
Like Jimmy John's and Jersey Mike's. I feel like
And
those
Firehouse Subs and
Firehouse
Potbelly.
Subs, Potbelly too, and Witch, right? Like
Yeah.
they're much more dominant than Subway is,
Yeah.
and they have a trendier brand.
Let's grab some more super chats. Polly Pure says, Subway has too many chemicals in their bread and meat.
Yeah, they had the yoga mats.
What?
They had this. I don't know if this was in Canada or it was here, but I think it was. It was all over. But then I think either they banned. Yeah, they banned it here, but they didn't ban it in Canada. But there's a chemical that's in yoga mats that was also in their bread, and then they had to remove it here, but Canada still kept it because it was.
They put propylene glycol in muffins and drinks.
It's maybe what it was. It was something like that.
Propylene glycol, they say it's inert and it's fine to eat, but we would use, I think we used propylene, or did we use ethylene? We used it to de-ice planes.
Yeah.
I think we used propylene glycol. And the reason they put it in muffins is because it simulates oil. It makes it remain moist-ish.
And like longer shelf life, probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So when you're getting a real baked good, like a cake, they put oil in it. And that makes it moist and delicious. If you don't, it'll start to dry out. But if you're mass producing garbage, you will put like propylene glycol in it.
Ugh.
It was funny. I worked at O'Hare Airport and they were like, you know, in the de-icing trucks, you're in this big cherry picker on top of a truck and you got this hose over your shoulder and you're pulling the lever and blasting the plane with just high intensity mixture of, I think it was 50% and 80%. One was orange and it was to melt the ice. and then the other was to coat it with sludge so that ice wouldn't form. And they were like, yeah, look, it's going to get in the air everywhere. It's going to get all of your clothes and face, so wear goggles. And like, it's fine if you eat it or breathe it in. Just don't do a lot of it because you don't know. And then one of the guys doing de-icing was driving the truck, and then his buddy was walking by, and he was like, hey, so-and-so. And then he just blasted him with it. And the guy was drenched in glycol, and they were like,
Were you wearing a
gag.
Tyvek suits? Tyvek suits so you didn't get it on you?
No, it was, you're
clothes?
wearing a winter jacket and a scarf. I wasn't anywhere near when it happened, but that's what they said happened.
Well, I
And
mean,
I'm
in
like,
general, when you're spraying it, you think you would have a Tyvek suit on or something.
Yeah, and they told us they were like, oh, yeah, it wasn't ethylene glycol. It's ethylene glycol is antifreeze. It was propylene glycol. And they were like, don't worry, it's fine. They put it in drinks and they put it in muffins. And I'm like,
But should they put it in those things?
Right, that makes me not want to eat those things.
Well, if you want to buy a 2-month-old muffin that's still
Fresh.
edible, then yeah.
Oh.
David Gear says, Dr. Pepper used to have propylene glycol in it. That stuff is antifreeze. We literally use it to de-ice planes. I don't know what to tell you. Ethylene glycol is the bottle of antifreeze that tastes sweet and will kill you, and don't drink it, and animals drink it because they don't know what it is. But they say propylene glycol is fine. But don't ask me. I'm not a doctor, so...
I don't want to find out.
Real quick, I worked we made a roofing installation at Johns Manville, and we use propylene glycol for the grades to keep it like not iced up and stuff like that.
Yeah. It stops freezing.
Yeah.
Crazy. Fear Me 16 says Kamala's dad is literally an economist. I mean, a Marxist one, but potato.
Look,
Yep.
that's why she thinks it's a good policy. It's all she knows.
Communism.
Communism. Robert Held says Alex Jones said Trump's going to Rikers earlier. I wouldn't be surprised. I don't know. Start stocking up on rice and beans, I guess.
Safe ready meals.
Go ahead.
Yeah,
Beans.
safeandreadymeals.com. What do we have here? Chris Nopolis says, isn't September 18th right before early voting? Wasn't there a Democrat poll out saying X% wouldn't vote for a felon?
Probably.
Man, they're going to put Trump in a jumpsuit. Maybe the reason they actually delayed his sentencing was not to get him to the RNC, but it's because they thought he wasn't going to be alive.
Maybe. I mean, he's not going to look good either when they don't let him do the self-tanner.
Yeah, I got listened to politics ever since 2020. This stuff is nuts.
Yeah, this is next level.
Crazy.
There's real Banana Republic stuff going on.
Oh, for reals.
Let's go. Gon says if Trump goes to jail, he's not going to see the next election, and no video surveillance. Uh-oh. I don't like the sound of that.
Well, they already proved the Secret Service is not particularly...
Maybe that's the... They're setting us up. You know what I mean?
So we believe that the Secret Service would fail again, yeah.
Wrath of Paul says, what if Trump just ignores the judge's sentence and dares them to come get him? Anything they do to him only makes him more popular. Ronald McFondle says, Kamala, you come and go. Very clever. Last responder says, Trump-Hillary contingent election. Senate chooses Hillary Clinton to make her the VP. Wow. Oh, and then Trump slips and falls and Hillary becomes
He has
president.
a little incident.
All right. Robert Peters says, I can no longer believe that any of the current events are remotely spontaneous. What is straw that breaks the camel's back? Will we even recognize it?
I mean, if it hasn't happened yet, I don't know.
I kind of feel like it's just, I don't know. I talked about this before when I had Eric Prince on Culture War, and he said it just happens overnight.
Yeah.
Like everything seems normal and you wake up one day and there's no internet and then there's no electricity. TV's not on, radio's not on. So
That's the thing. That's the scariest part because who do you even complain to? Just your neighbor?
But we're
You
first
can't even go
world,
all
too.
online.
Can't talk to
You
them.
can't even go online.
no, what
and just be
happens
like,
is
what the hell's going on?
you wake up one day, the internet's not working, there's nothing on the TV, and you're shrugging like, I don't know what's going on. You go outside and you look around, you notice your neighbors are looking around and you're like, do you guys know what's going on? And then an APC pulls up and guys in military uniforms jump out and they're like, how's it going, everybody? Don't worry. We're dealing with everything. We're taking control. Is there like an alderman or is there anybody in the area we can talk to who's in charge? Somebody, maybe a neighborhood watch or whatever. And then the guys go up and say, you're going to listen to us. We're going to tell you what to do in case of an emergency. Our guys are going to be stationed here. And you're like, okay, I guess.
Yeah.
And then 5 hours later, another APC pulls up and a guy jumps out and he goes, we're in charge here. Don't worry, everybody. And they're like, are you with those guys? And they go, who? And they go, those other guys, they're wearing red patches on their arms. And they go, where? And then they, Yep.
I'm thinking New York City, they go, who's in charge? And then 20 guys are like, I am. And
Dude,
I don't know if that happened in first world country, Tim.
what, that APCs will pull up, the power
Just
go
the way
out?
you say overnight, everything's going to be done overnight. You know what I mean?
I think it will. I think that.
Has Eric Prince ever been in a first world country where that happened?
I mean, I think the issue is optimism and normalcy bias. People assume it can't happen to me when there's no reason why it couldn't.
Yeah.
Word.
I mean, we've had internet outages ever so often, big ones. I mean, Google's DNS went down a few, like, I don't know, 6-7 years ago or
There was
something.
that big power outage in New York City for like 3 days or something.
We get cell phone outages. We get all sorts of stuff happening. We had that oil pipeline shut down and everyone was panicking. So these things are small, but imagine 4 of them happened at once. And then people are just like, what's going on? I mean, honestly, for like one area, like the backhaul line gets cut or a deep water cable gets cut, and then you cut off a whole area to the internet and they have no idea what's going on. The question is, could it get serious to the point where, you don't know what's actually happening? I think the answer is yes. I think it's entirely possible. Satellite internet changes things, but, of course it's possible. Critical infrastructure failure could happen. The question is, like, will it happen? Kenny Cam says, Tim, ever thought cat turd, et cetera, are being paid? Kind of makes sense, huh? Being paid by Kamala? I mean, the whole thing's weird to literally just be attacking moderates and then celebrating it. It's like you want Trump to lose.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's literally what we criticized the left for doing 10 years ago. So I'll say this. I legit think Kamala could win. And I think that Trump's campaigning is indicative of their internals are not so good. A lot of people are like, oh, the polls are fake. Don't believe it. You got to keep morale up and all that stuff. And I'm like, yeah, for sure. I just think morale is not material. You have to fight no matter what happens, no matter how. You got to show up. I said this the other day. If Donald Trump could take a bullet for you, no matter what you think, no matter what you're doing, you go out and cast your vote for him. That being said, if a lot of people are on vibes and there's a lot of moderates who don't know and don't care about Trump, and this is a fact, Joe Rogan won't endorse Trump. Joe Rogan, who knows about the gender ideology stuff, who knows Kamala's crazy, who knows the system is effed, still will not say he's voting for Donald Trump.
Yeah. Taylor Swift won't endorse Harris, though.
Yeah, I find that really interesting. She's staying out of the
I feel like
politics.
those cancel each other out.
Well, I think because people are concerned about the hyperpolarization coming to an extreme point.
It's bad
And
for
so
business.
they're like, keep me out of it. If Trump's going to win, you need to be the open arms, come and join the party. Otherwise, you have become the exclusionary. If you're not with us, you're against us. And if you weren't here from day one, get the F out. And that's what these people are doing. So, okay. I think this is a huge component of what's going to cost Trump the election. If he does lose, it's because he needs every slim percentage he can get. And I think Trump needs to have his campaign people calling if these guys really are Trump's biggest supporters, then when Trump calls them, they answer. And they say, yes, Mr. President, like, what can I do for you to help? Yeah. So Trump should have his campaign people be like, guys, can you please stop attacking moderates? And the response should be like, you got it. We'll chill out. I guess it's not happening. People are going to jump ship.
Cat turd only listens to cat turd.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. Anthony Passmore says, almost died yesterday as a statistic of the Biden-Harris open border policy. A 20-year-old non-N speaker Arab migrant slammed into me at 95 plus miles an hour and totaled my car. Thankful to live, but screwed by INS. INS is not a thing. Hasn't been for, 20-something years?
I know.
Yeah.
Got to get Rick.
Paul Tascalo says, I have no problem with Trump playfully calling out Rogan. Rogan felt the need to put out a tweet to clarify he didn't endorse RFK. Trump established his alpha dominance. Joe Beta Rogan understood. And what this means is, do you think Joe's happy about it? Do you think Joe's happy to tweet, I'm so sorry for the things I said and I didn't mean it? Because he's done it more than once. I don't think so. I don't know how much he really cares, but I can tell you this. You want people who have large seats of influence to at least be somewhat sympathetic. You want Joe Rogan to go on his show and be like, I got to be honest, when I criticize Trump, his people just try and talk to me about it and try and convince me, but the Democrat people scream at me. Well, now he's going to say, oh, they're all crazy. They all attack you like crazy. I mean, these people are nuts. That's basically what he said. When he said RFK's the only one to make sense, he's the only one not gaslighting and attacking and criticizing.
He knows how to handle a bear.
Yes. Indeed he does.
Imagine a Trump Kennedy ticket where he just tells all these crazy stories. I was hawking and then there was a bear.
Into him.
John Q. Citizen says, so my car broke down today. I don't know why or what it will cost, but if it costs more than $900, I'm screwed. I can't afford that. What's your favorite punk album? Mine's the Vandals' Quickening album. Oh, I don't know if I have a favorite album. Because I don't know. I liked the anti-flag a lot back in the day. But, I was like 15 and they're nuts. So I don't know how I feel about them these days. Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if there's any good punk. The Defiant, they're good. Are they punk?
Kinda, right? Yeah. Ish.
They are? I don't, I'm not the person.
Pop punk as they get older,
They're
maybe.
Pop punk?
I don't know their album.
I'm a Simple Plan guy.
I like them though.
That's my favorite punk band.
Simple
Plan, huh? He's got this look on his face like he knows he's insulting people.
Yeah. They're super pop.
Big Pierre guy.
Yeah.
But they did rock when they were live here. That was a rocking good time.
See? Big punk.
I meant the Defiant.
Oh, I think.
All right. Freddie says, how crazy is it that if someone says Trump is going to ban free speech, no one bats an eye, but Trump is going to ban abortion, riots in the streets, dystopian AF. We should have that same energy with all our rights. Well, it's because people of low cognitive function have nothing to say and are not worried about being silenced. They just want to fit in.
Based.
What do we have here? An average cat says on August 10th, 2024, my niece's husband, Nathan Morris of Canton, Michigan, was shot and killed in his neighborhood in a senseless act of violence over mulch. He left behind his wife of 10 years and 2 children, ages 5 and 2. Man, sorry to hear it.
It's very sad.
Yeah.
All right. R.I.P. My bad.
Very sad. Down and Out Nashville says Trump had a good day with Joe Rogan and Dennis Quaid today. Really good podcast for Trump today. Joe Rogan is helping his country like he should. What happened? Trump had a...
Dennis Quaid was on Rogan today.
Yeah.
Like talking
Oh, okay.
Talk about Rogan.
He has his Reagan
Ronald Reagan movie. That's
Yeah.
going to be spectacular, I hear.
And so how does that help Trump?
Maybe he says something good about him? I don't know. It's long. I didn't have time.
Yep. All right, we'll grab a couple more super chats here. Where are we at? Jason Hutchinson says you need to be there for that baby, not working a job that might result in your own life being sacrificed.
Amen.
I mean, that's kind of crazy, too. She's got to breastfeed. She's nursing a child, and then she's risking her life. What if she died, and then the baby, what are they going to do?
I mean, start feeding a formula, I guess. But like,
Become an orphan?
It's just weird that the
I'm sure
the
there's
government
a
agency would be
father.
like,
We don't know.
The dad can't breastfeed.
It's 2024. Dads can breastfeed.
That's such a
bigot.
joke now.
I'm pretty sure that
what
the
you've
hormone
been reading.
the hormone stuff they induce doesn't actually produce full lactation. It
Yeah.
produces something else.
Like jet fuel.
No, what is it called? Starts with the C. Colostrum.
Colostrum?
Yeah. That males who take the stuff don't produce milk. They produce this thick pre-milk stuff. Yeah, not the same. But the kid can have formula, I suppose.
it's just weird that the government agency would be like, we're so dedicated to equality that we think it's a good idea that you're in the field. Like, obviously high risk for everybody there.
I hope we get a follow-up on this story to actually find out what happened.
All right. It's Justin. Amy says, Tim, should an employer be able to mandate an employee get a hernia surgery in order to return to work? If that medical treatment, why not a vaccine? It depends. So if someone is physically incapable of doing their job, then I think it's fair to be like, if you can't do the job, why are you here? If somebody ruptures their gut and literally can't lift anything anymore, then it's not even about the hernia. It's about, hey, look, when you're able to lift again, you can, but you've got a hernia. Like, you're not going to be able to. The thing about vaccinations is that you can tell people we prefer it if you did, but if someone goes to their doctor and the doctor says you literally can't get this, the employer shouldn't be able, like, I don't agree with the employer being like, get it or you can't work here when your doctor says it's detrimental to your health and you can't do it. I don't know. I don't think that employers should be able to mandate these things. I don't know. But it's all moral lines too, right? Like the argument about a hernia has nothing to do with a vaccine. A vaccine is a permanent alteration to your body through a chemical substance entered into your bloodstream. Repairing a hernia is a physical injury of ruptured abdominal wall. So it's like if your leg broke, fix your broken leg. That's a positive impact. If you said everyone has to get a vaccine no matter what, and then the doctor's like, well, you can't for this reason, so you get fired, I think that's BS. I don't like that. Telling someone they have to permanently physically alter themselves. Like it would be more akin to say, could an employer mandate someone get an ear piercing or their tongue split or something? Like, no. Fixing your body or whatever. But again, it's also moral lines. Morally, I don't like the idea of mass vaccination mandates, but requiring someone to fix an injured part of their body is not that big a deal to me. It's not about all medical issues. It's about universal medication and chemicals. And it really depends. It really does. All right. Where are we at? Shadav says, "Hey Tim, I might have missed it, but did you guys cover Susan Wojcicki? Is that how you pronounce it to death? I know Wojcicki.
Wojcicki
Was
You're Polish,
Wojcicki?
didn't you know?
No, I'm
Wojcicki?
Russian.
I know there's a lot of bad blood about her censoring history, but I recall she had children, and I can't help but feel a bit sad. No, we didn't. I mean, we mentioned it briefly. I tweeted out, condolences. It's sad to hear. I'm not going to revel in anybody dying, right?
Yeah, she had a pretty aggressive form of cancer and had left her job, at the time just to focus on her health and her kids. And her oldest son, or one of her older children, 'cause she's 5 total, had just died of a drug overdose.
Oh, wow.
at,
At college, right?
Yeah, earlier this year. So it's definitely a tough time for that family.
That's sad.
Mizumori says, how do you think the Social Security hack will impact the HAVV numbers? We'll stop seeing people not coming up. They'll all be confirmed now because whoever is filling out those universal filling out those registration forms are going to have the correct information.
Mm-hmm. I think the states are, have to be the ones on top of this. You can see stuff coming out of Alabama where they're going through their voter rolls to make sure that the non-citizens aren't registered to vote. But you have to have a state government that wants to do that. And if you're Democrat-led, maybe not.
All right, my friends, if you haven't already, would you kindly smash that like button, subscribe to this channel, share the show with your friends, head over to timcast.com, click join us, become a member, because with your support, we will continue the show, and we are funded by you guys who are members. You make it all possible. But the members-only show is coming up in about a minute or two. You don't want to miss it. It's not so family-friendly. It'll be a bit funny, so we hope to see you there, and as you as members get to call in and talk to us. You can follow me on X and Instagram at Timcast. You can follow the show at Timcast IRL on Instagram. Danny, do you want to shout anything out?
Yeah, follow me, Danny Jokes, everywhere, and check out my podcast every Friday with Ryan Long, the Boys Cast, and also for people who are kind of fans of Coast to Coast, if you know that show, I do every Monday night on YouTube. It's called Low Value Mail, MAIL. I have guests on, and it's a call-in show, so if people are listening, they can call in every Monday night at 9 p.m.
I am Raymond G. Stanley Jr. Follow me on anywhere. Just look up Raymond G. Stanley Jr. I appreciate being here. Rick Ortiz, I seen your super chat. He said he will fight me. That's Rick Ortiz has been fighting everyone in the chat and on the show for the last 4 years. So shout out Rick Ortiz. Miss Hannah Claire?
Guys, it's been so fun having you both here. I'm Hannah Claire Brimla. I'm a writer for SCNR.com, Scanner News. Follow their work at Timcast News. It's a really great team. I'm proud to be a part of it. If you want to follow me personally, I'm on Instagram at HannahClaire.b. I'm on Twitter at HannahClaireB. Thanks for everything you do. Have a great night.
We will see you all over at timcast.com in about a minute. Thanks for hanging out.